Hey guys, how you going? So today on Big House Sport, we're back here for another Tea and Make a Baby. I love this series. Every single year, we smack it out. We go through every single player in the NRL, and it is absolutely exciting because this is the point of the year that you start to get hyped up about rugby league coming back. You know, we've had our cricket. It's been great slapping the South Africans. It's been fantastic. And obviously, BBL, A-League, it's fantastic. But rugby league is here. We want to see some big hits, some big tackles, and the guys that we're going to be doing today are the front rowers who exactly should be doing the big hits and the big tackles. If you guys don't know this series, we go through literally every single player across 10 different videos with 10 different content creators in the NRL community, and we rank the players basically elite quality, do the job, not that great, and unproven. It's not just myself, however, obviously, though, it is, I don't know what's going on there, but I do have another content creator with me, which you did see last year. It is Rando, the Random Stats Guy. Chuck them both in there. How are we doing, big fella?
I'm good, Blaze. How are you going, mate? I'm so excited for this. It took us 2.5 hours to get through second rowers and front rowers last year. I'm keen. I'm stocked up on drinks, food. Yeah. I've got everything, mate. I've got everything because it's going to be a long time arguing. I know it.
Yeah, exactly right, man. You know, last year, as he was saying, we went for quite a decent time, and we've actually got more players this year because the Dolphins, the Wish version of the Gold Coast, have come into the competition here, and I think we've got 4 players from there, but we've also got we've added, I think, about 13 more players. It's going to be crazy. So we're not going to talk too long here before we do get straight into it. But for anyone who doesn't obviously know you, man, what do you do in the community?
Yeah, absolutely. Got a page on Instagram, Facebook. I've basically opened up everywhere with Twitter and TikTok as well at RandomStatsGuy. Basically, the most random stats you can find, game by game. I literally go through them all. I'll find anything on the planet for you, and it's something just to share with your mates. Maybe you're at the pub, maybe you're just at a family dinner, and you've got a few stats to back up your Tigers or Titans on how they're going to win the comp in 2023. I've got those stats on my page, and also, if you like to have a little dabble in tipping, fantasy, betting, I give a little sprinkle of what the stats say for each game. And we've been doing pretty well the last 2 years, over 50% on those ones, tipping-wise over 70%. So doing really well in that regard. So that's where you can find me, Instagram, primarily on Instagram, but hoping to get a website up so everyone can access it more often.
Hey, the more of you, the better. The more of you, the better. But I will
Absolutely.
correct you on one thing. Is that I have to push you for good Titan stats. I've seen enough bad Titan stats. Every single time I'm like, where's the good Titan stats? Listen, I know there's not many out there, but find them, man. That's your job. That's your job, to find the most obscure positive stat.
Mate, you're the only person motivating me to get it through it. Every week, something positive. Just one thing to hold on to. I'll get it on this year.
Man.
This year is the year of the Titans. I like it.
I like it. Now, exactly right. Now, hold that same energy for when we do this list, eh? Hold that same energy. But all right, guys. So if you don't know what this, just to go over it one more time before we go straight through it, because we will be going through about 52 players here. This is the front row category. So the big boppers in the 8 and the 10. We've got basically everyone. There might be a couple of stragglers that do miss out that probably aren't going to start and probably aren't going to be on the bench. If there's someone missed out, chuck it into the comment section and, we'll respond to it. But overall, you can't really go wrong with the amount of guys on this list. We do have an elite quality, do the job, not that great, and unproven. We will have to put at least someone in at least all of them. There's not going to be a single category that won't, and it doesn't end up like that anyway. I don't even know why I say that half the time. To clarify as well, if you're a player watching this and we put you in not that great, we understand that we are not as good as you. We understand that we are fans of the game, and we are analyzing based on what we see in comparison to other players. We don't think you're a bad player in general. We just think in comparison to other guys, there are guys that do a better job than you. So that means to motivate you to get better. It's not like you can't do it. You're in this position for that very reason. So don't take offense if we do put you too low and you believe you're an elite player. Just, buddy, prove us wrong, baby. Prove me goddamn wrong. Do it. I encourage you to. But, big fella, we ready to go?
Oh, yeah. Born ready.
All right. Well, guess what? You're up first. Then Adam Fanua-Blake from the New Zealand Warriors. What are your thoughts?
I think Adam Fanua-Blake in a really disastrous Warriors side has been one of their highlights. I think 7th for run meters in 2022. tackle efficiency as well is ranked 8th out of all front rowers that we're going through today at 96%. The one part that lets him down is around that error mark. He does make a few errors, 7th on that list for front rowers. But all round, I think he's a real quality front rower. Is that someone who you chuck into that quality mark there, Blaze?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd put into... I think the Warriors as a whole really do let him down on potentially becoming that elite section. Like, I think that he has that ability. But I do think that, yeah, look, he's probably quality for me. I think there are a couple of guys that probably would be above him, and I definitely wouldn't be putting him in to do the job, because in that Warriors team, you'd probably be looking at him as the best player that's there in general. So, yeah, I'd put him in there. A few errors, but then again, I guess front rowers are always pretty prone to a few errors.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just being devil's advocate for why I wouldn't put him in elite. Obviously, trying to argue for why I haven't got him in do the job, and also don't have him in that elite side. But plenty to like about him in 2022 for Warriors fans. Kind of got their go forward going as well. 139 meters per game, which is the 6th most of any front rower. Taking 14 carries a game, which is in that top 10 barrier of all front rowers as well. So he's putting his hand up. He's doing the work. Outside of those errors, he's a quality player.
100%. And see, this is the biggest reason why we got the random stats going here, guys, because honestly, like, we have the fans view here that, like, I'll watch it and I'll see it for what it is, but then we'll also have the stats perspective as well. So it is, you know, two different perspectives from different points of, you know, the I guess the spectrum of how people view the game. So that's why it's really good to have that multi here. And you know, the stats are great, and we're going to get plenty of stats here today, don't you worry. But next up here, we will go to Alex Twal from the West Tigers, the man who has never scored a try in rugby league. It's going to be an amazing moment, man. I hope it happens at Seabus and everyone rushes the field. But look, Alex Twal, I think that, look, it's a hard one, because I think he had a pretty good season before he went down injured, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all know about his tackle efficiency outside of his try scoring record, of course. That is the best tackler in the league, basically 99% tackle efficiency, which is, he only misses 1 in every 100 tackles. If you do the maths on that, he averages, and it's not like he's not tackling either. He averages around 30 tackles a game last season. Unfortunately, injury did cruel him, and he has been hurt in the ratings and the rankings off the back of that. But I still think he's a quality front rower. I've got him at the end of my quality front rowers list, with another player who also had a, unfortunately, season-ending injury as well.
Yeah, I was thinking it was either going to be bottom of quality or very, very top of do the job. And I think that we're probably, based on last year before his injury, I'm pretty happy to put him into that bottom end of quality. I think last year we actually had him a bit lower. Like, I think we last year had him in do the job, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. We had him in do the job last year, but this year he's kind of picked up his game a lot more, and we're starting to see the results there. So I do have him just a bit above do the job, though. I think he's essential for the Tigers, and I think he gets a starting spot, to be honest, which is going to be tough in that new forward pack for the Tigers.
100%. All right, next up here, and we're going to go straight to you, because I remember last year I didn't agree with you. And I'm interested to see if you've come back down to my level here in regards to Blake Lawrie from the Dragons. Man, listen, are we still on the Lawrie train? Are we still on the Lawrie choo-choo train?
The Lawrie train has stopped for a little bit at the moment. He is stuck on do the job for me. Still, besides that, he did score a try, unlike Alex Twal last season, so he'll take that record off him. He's 14th for runs this season, for last season as well, taking 13 carries. Unfortunately, his run meters aren't really up there. 105 meters he averages. You really want to see front rowers get above that, like 10 meters per run. That's what they're made for, to get that go forward. He averages 46 of those meters, so almost half his meters are post-contact meters as well. So not really bending the line, pretty low on tackle breaks as well. Where he does do pretty poorly is the missed tackles as well. 5th on average missed tackles at 5. 2.6 per game, which is pretty high for a front rower. So he's dropped down for my liking. I'm off the hype train for now. He's on do the job.
I tried to get you off the train, mate. I tried to tell you guys last year. He wouldn't listen to me. He's all over it. But
well, I also thought Dragons top 8 last year, and well, look how that showed up.
God help us, God help us. But you know, look, yeah, I think Blake Lawrie is the epitome. I think he'll probably wind his way down towards the bottom area do the job. I think there will be guys that will probably get above him. But I don't think not that great. I'd still put him, lower end of do the job, but we'll see obviously how that one does pan out there. Next up here, we do go to the Cronulla Sharks. We've got Braden Hamlin-Uele, and I think this is actually a very similar one for that, like in regards to Blake Lawrie from last year, is that I think put him in do the job, and I think you had him in not that great, and I'd probably go back down to where you were now, and probably I didn't see a great deal personally. I didn't see a personally great deal from him this year for the Sharkies, but then again, are you going to tell me that I'm wrong?
No, you basically didn't see much from him this year as well, because he was 50th. We got 54 players we're going through. He's 50th for tackles, averages 15 tackles a game. If we go back to Blake Lawrie, just as a scope, he averages 27 tackles a game. So nearly almost double what Braden Hamlin-Uele. Oh, geez, can't even say the double barrel names. Miss me on that. And we're only what, 15 minutes into this?
Mate, we're 4 players in.
Absolutely. I know, exactly. Awful. In saying that, I mean, even 8 carries a game, he's not really getting ball in hand when we see the top tier players who are taking 15, 14, 13 carries. That's your average for front rowers. So pretty poor in that. But what he does make up for his tackle breaks in those 8 runs, he is 12th for tackle breaks in front rowers. But for me, I've got him in that not that great category.
Yeah, I'm not too sure where we'll go. I don't think we'll go to the bottom of the not that great category, but yeah, I think he's got to go down there. So we've done the switcheroo. See, you've come back down to earth on Blake Lawrie, and I've come back down to earth on Braden Hamlin-Uele. But
unbelievable what he can do. Unbelievable what he can do.
This is how it works, man. This is how the cookie crumbles. But we've got next up Bunty Afoa. And look, I love his runs. We said it last year. I love his run backs. You know, it's strong, but what else is there really to get hyped up about is what I would say personally. I just don't see much at all. I think it's probably similar in regards to Braden Hamlin-Uele, and I think I might put him, I think I actually, based on what I saw, I'll probably put him below him.
Yeah, I have him below him, actually. 2 players below him. Same sort of stats, 8 runs per game, but even less. 81 meters that he averages as well. So he's around that 10-meter mark each run, which you do like in terms of effort, but we're missing him. We're missing a lot from Bunty this season, and I think he's back in that not that great category, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, no, it's disappointing because I think that he has so much power in him. He does. He really has a lot of power in those legs. And if I said this exact same thing last year, I know I did. When you're behind him and you're watching him make that charge up, man, he's got a good bloody charge. He's got his own train behind him, but unfortunately, it just doesn't translate into all aspects of the game. And it's a very one-dimensional way to look at a player from the run back from a kickoff, which. Yeah, I don't know. It's not the greatest. So I think, we put him below put him below Braden Hamlin-Uele, and we move on now to a man coming back from a big injury for the Melbourne Storm, which is Christian Welch. I'm really excited to see him come back into the fray because I think he's one of the better forwards in the game, and I think that he's got to go, very high up there. I think he's actually underrated considering how good he is, and I think he was underrated before his injury too.
Exactly, and I think a lot of people are going to realize how important he was to that Melbourne Storm squad. He was really good, especially his offload game in particular, really getting on the front foot, giving Harry Grant that little space out of dummy half to whiz away, including Cam Munster and even Ryan Pappenhausen when he was fit. So they really missed him. For that, I mean, not much to go into his stats. He only played 61 minutes last season, so not too much to dig into there. But he first game against the Tigers, so he had 13 carries, though, 104 meters, really set the platform for a great year. So it was sad to see him go. 2 offloads in that game as well. Only 1 game to go off in the end. But, boy, I think he is a quality player. I've got him below Alex Twal purely on games played in 2022, but I'm happy to lift him up because I know how important he is.
Yeah, I think I'd personally put him above Alex Twal. I'm not going to... I think I want to see this year before I could look at Adam Fanua-Blake, but I still think Fanua-Blake probably is more of an integral part. It does come down to the fact that he's the Warriors and Welch is at the Storm, though. But I think that Adam Fanua-Blake probably, it does stay above him for me. But I'd probably put Welch above 12. So are you happy to put him above?
Yeah, absolutely. I think AFB, just such a bloody demolisher in attack when he runs the ball, which is a front rower's job. Welch is a bit more, he's almost like a second rower playing in that front row role, getting that offload, making that tackle break on that edge. So I do think AFB a bit more traditional, have him a bit higher.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next up here, we do go into Coen Hess, a man who has been very good in the past and then really fell off. And then I think he actually had a better year. I'm not saying it was an outstanding year by any means, but I think last year was a better year for Coen Hess. What are your thoughts on Coen? Because I think that he was making groundwork at times to actually kind of getting some form back into his game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was a much better 2022 for Coen Hess. Did he play Origin last year, or am I just
he
thinking
wouldn't
that
have played
he
Origin, but he definitely played a few years ago. I think he
Yeah,
definitely played a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was in that 2020 side, but I think he got back to that standard. I think we missed a lot. I think he's been mainly like thinking of what position actually works for him. We saw him start in the second row and absolutely kill it as a young gun. That's what got him Origin selection. Now he's sort of been forced into that front row position, which I think this year he played a lot better. Obviously, he is behind Cotter and McLean, so he isn't getting as much minutes. Only averaged 38 this season. Average 6 carries, which is probably the lowest of all the front rowers here. So on the back of that, including like run meters, 64, average post-contact meters around 24 per game, even though he played 23 games. I think off the back of that, I've got him at not that great category. But if he gets more minutes, I'm sure he can play a bit better.
I'd possibly, like, if I'm taking a draft tomorrow, I'm probably going to take Coen Hess over Braden Hamlin-Uele. So, on my opinion, I'd probably still put him, and I agree, I'd put him in not that great because he hasn't really shown it on that consistent level yet. And also, he might not find those minutes, as you say. I think that I'd put him above Hamlin-Uele based on the potential that we can see.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair point. I mean, for me, Hamlin-Uele took more carries, more meters gained compared to Coen Hess, but where Coen Hess didn't make runs and meters, he made 5 more tackles than Adam Fanua-Blake. So it's definitely a touch and go situation in that regard. But yeah, it is very tight.
If Coen Hess was getting the same amount of minutes as Braden Hamlin-Uele, who would you say is the better player for your team if you were to take him?
Well, Coen Hess played 4 more minutes per game.
Oh, 4 more minutes.
Braden Hamlin, 4 more minutes. So probably not putting as much output there. Hamlin-Uele averaged 34 minutes per game last season for 8 carries.
Okay, I think maybe we put him below then based on those stats.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. And I'm a supporter for everyone in the comments absolutely giving it to me probably right now. But yeah.
He is a Cowboys fan.
Take this.
He is.
I am. So,
but I will say quickly, because we're not doing back rowers, is that I remember we had a conversation last year about who we backed in more. I've always remembered this. And I chose Jeremiah Nanai. And who did you choose? I think you chose Gilbert.
No, I think I chose Teelam Lukey. Yes, exactly. Well, that's unfair. Lukey did his ACL.
Slap him.
Come on.
No, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it.
You got it right. Bang on. Nanai was unbelievable. And,
look at me go, mate. Look at me go.
You mate, fortune teller. Scout. Scout.
I should be a scout.
The Titans called for being a scout?
Mate, they may as well. Look, we'll sort it out this year. But let's move on now to so we put him below Braden, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
So in between Afoa and Braden.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Broncos now, and it is Corey Jensen. I think this is one I'm going to leave with you here because I don't think that fans of the game are necessarily going to I don't think he's going to be high up there. I think maybe I'd probably put him in do the job. I haven't really seen a great deal from him, and I think that maybe the stats might prove the same thing there because he wouldn't get many minutes at the Broncos either.
Absolutely. I mean, Corey Jensen actually started a fair few games in our season 2022, which was pretty surprising because I thought, you see the Carrigans coming out who Paddy didn't even play that many games in front row, was more of a lock. You also have Flegler there and Payne Haas, but in between then, Corey Jensen was filling up most of the time, starting and Flegler coming off the bench. He averaged around 37 minutes, so the same as Coen Hess, but get this, he averaged 11 runs per game, which is 5 more than Coen Hess in that same period of time with the same average amount of tackles. So he's not going down or up. So for me personally, I look at this and go, wow, pretty good effort here from Corey Jensen in his fair few minutes that he got on the field. I'm putting him at the top above Hamlin-Uele here for not that great.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. Like I said, I don't know a great deal about Corey. I obviously I'll watch every single game with the channel and stream every game, but when I've seen him, I just haven't seen enough to really kind of put him up there with any kind of anyone, even Blake Lawrie to extent. So I think I'll agree with you there above Braden Hamlin-Uele. I think he might be one of the higher ones in the not that great section. I don't think he'll drop off too much more there personally. So yeah, we'll chuck him at the top end of not that great. And let's move on to a couple of new. I was about to say a couple of Newcastle Knights boys, but it's only one actually. Is this Daniel Saifiti? It is Daniel Saifiti from the Newcastle Knights, a man that has played Origin in the past. Lost his spot. It's a great New South Wales team, but still not the champions. Thanks for coming, New South Wales. Where do you rank him, man? Because I think that he at times he can still be that quality player that we know, but also at times I guess he falls back into that Knight system that just isn't that great and really bland at times. So I guess he's very 50 between the tinkering of the quality and the do the job, but I think it'd be a bit rough to take him out of that quality section still.
Absolutely. I think he's a quality front row. He showed it on the Origin stage last year as well. So I really do like Daniel Saifiti in particular. Plenty to like about him. I mean, he's averaging around 11 carries a game for about 110 meters. So not getting too much ball in hand considering he plays for 54 minutes per game. Which is like double almost what like Coen Hess was doing, but he still gets the job done in that regard. 22 tackles. His tackle efficiently a bit low, but not too bad. I think he's around that do the job, but I think he's just because of his status as well. And now I'm thinking status and what he provides to that Newcastle outfit, and a team without a Newcastle Knight side without Daniel Saifiti. It's a pretty ordinary team. So in that case, I've got him at the lower end there of quality, but above Alex Twal and Christian Welch.
Oh, you got him above Welch?
Yeah. But I'm happy to change it up.
No, I think that you're right. I think we'll probably find by the end of this year that Welch will go above, is what I'll say personally. I think that Welch will reestablish himself and show how necessary he is for that Storm team. And I think we know that Saifiti is really integral to that Knights team, but I just feel like by the end of this year, we're going to see that him reestablish himself and maybe, it was an ACL that Welch did, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that's another reason maybe to put him down there, because ACLs are very tough to come back from. Very, very tough to come back from. So, I will put Saifiti above Welsh. I'll give you that one. We'll give you that one there. They're both up there in the top area quality anyway. So, but we'll move on. All right, next up here, we do have David Klemmer. Obviously, he's wearing a nice jersey here, but he is now at the West Tigers, isn't he? I think he's at the Tigers, isn't he? He is at the Tigers. They've gone out and got a few forwards themselves. Still a bit of a, how you going team. But David Klemmer, he's getting older now, but he still has a bit of tank in him.
Absolutely. And I think he was absolutely robbed of getting a New South Wales jumper when they were running out of front rowers. Daniel Saifiti, his teammate, got the gig instead, as we saw. And he did play really well, no doubt about it. But I thought David Klemmer, one of the unlucky front rowers, especially when Australia were down in front row power as well. He's third for average runs per game, 15. Fourth for average run meters at 146 per game. Fifth for average post-contact meters, 65 per game. He's second for offloads. Top 10 for tackles. I mean, this guy deserves a fucking rep jumper. I don't know what he couldn't do. I'm sorry. I hate people who say David Klemmer has had it. He's over. He's done with. Mate, this guy deserves to stay on the field. He can tell the trainer to get effed. I think David Klemmer's elite. I know you're laughing now, but I think he's an elite player and should be deserved.
I'm not laughing at what you're saying. I'm laughing at your reaction.
I'm outraged. I'm outraged.
He's outraged.
Mate, this is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So you wanted to put him in a lead, are you?
Yes, I'm willing to put him in a lead. I think, mate, top 10 in tackles, third for runs, fourth for run meters. Are you kidding me? He's 30 odd. Hey.
It's hard because the guys that we're about to put in elite is like
they are elite. They are elite in their own right.
Are you happy to put him right at the top area quality? I just feel like the longer we go, David Klemmer will feel a little bit out of place with the guys that we're going to have in elite.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I've got all the stats to stop you from doing any such action.
So wait, you won't.
I'm happy to put him at top of quality.
Okay.
I'm happy to put him at top of quality. but I'm also not happy that I'm putting top quality, if you know what I'm saying.
It's still probably higher than what a lot of other people are going to put him. I definitely, that's what I was saying. He really bounced back last year for me. I think he was great. The nights I had him on the channel, actually, I interviewed him after they put a score through my team, like every other team did after a 7 hour 14-hour return drive down to Newcastle in rain. And so I'm just going off a little bit track there. But yeah, look, I think I'm happy to definitely put him in quality. I wasn't expecting that high in elite, but I will put him. Yeah, I would personally take a real tough nut like a David Klemmer up front as well, and I think that. Sorry, I put that in the wrong position. Adam Vanilla Blake needs to move down there. I think that if you're taking a draft, the age is probably what's going to come in there. But with those stats that you did outline, we'll put him there, mate. But you tell him, mate. Oh, no, don't ever stop. You keep telling him how it goes up in the business with Clemmer.
Mate, honestly, the comments. Let me know in the comments if I've changed your mind about David Klemmer, who's gone from probably a lot of people going like, maybe not that great to at least quality. At least quality. If I've changed your mind there, please let me know in the comments.
All right. And next up, go on.
No. I'll come after you if you don't think so. I will.
All right. Next up here, we do have Francis Molo from the Dragons. And I'm not going to lie, man, straight up. I think that he's had potential in the past, but I still don't understand how he got that Origin gig.
Oh, mate, Queensland absolutely desperate for numbers is how he got it. I've got him pretty low on the not that great. I've got him below Coen Hess.
Was it Paul Green who selected him?
Yeah, well, I mean, we had absolutely no one going for us at all. Mate, I think Queensland Cup players were knocking on the door, to be honest. So you had to put someone
I was knocking on the door, get me in
at front row, I can see it.
Listen, that's what I played when I was a young bloke. So, Billy Slater, you need someone, will get me in the gig. But no, I agree. I'd put him in not that great. And I'd probably, I don't know. I don't know where you'd put him, though, because I think I'd still put him below Coen Hess.
Yeah, absolutely. I put him below Coen Hess, but I do have him above Bunty Afoa, and that's not because of the Queensland affiliation there. I think that he's just he averages more meters, an extra run, basically the same amount of tackles as him. They're pretty neck and neck in that regard, but I've just got him slightly higher there. I think he's just got that potential as well.
100%. All right, next up here, we go to Hame Sele from the Rabbitohs. And has he played much?
He played 14 games last season, but he was only averaging 29 minutes, which was the lowest of all the front rowers that we're looking into. In fact, I lied. There's one other player that we're going to look into later on who was playing actually lower minutes per game, which you might not believe. It might be why my decision was so low. But yeah, very unproven to me.
Yeah, that's why I was saying unproven. I haven't seen anything from him. I don't want to put him in not that great just because I haven't seen him. So I think we just throw him straight into that unproven category. And there we go. We move on to another one now, which is going to be, I don't know how you're actually going to see him, because for me, it's a bit different, but I've got mates who say otherwise. Isaac Liu here from the Gold Coast Titans. Now, Isaac Liu came to the Titans as a guy from the Roosters that was going to bring in a lot of experience. He's going to provide that kind of that Roosters knowledge of the success that they went through. I think that for the most part, we haven't seen that. And I think for the most part, we haven't gotten that grit. But I think really late in the season, he did start to turn on a little bit more, and I did start to enjoy his play. But overall, I'd probably put him in a mid to high, based on what I've seen this year, a mid to high do the job. And I think that is just simply kind of what we get with him. I think he's a great bloke, don't get me wrong, but it just hasn't really necessarily been working out for him here. And also, there is rumors that the Warriors are searching as well, but they also want the Titans to pay half, apparently. So it just shows that maybe his stocks have fallen off a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. This year, he was pretty disappointing for the Gold Coast Titans. I thought, as you mentioned, he'd bring that experience, that premiership winning vibe to the Titans, and we just didn't really see it from Isaac Liu. 16th for the most amount of minutes per game, around 51 minutes per game last season. But you look at his stats, like 42nd out of all the front rowers in terms of runs, run meters, post-contact meters, 40th, 50th, for tackles. He just didn't, his efforts in the game I'm not too sure what happened, but statistically, you just don't see that effort at all from Isaac Leo. So I actually had him top of not that great, to be honest, but
Oh, really?
I'm happy to put him at the bottom end I'm happy to meet you in the middle and put him in, do the job, because, I'm just going off statistics right here, and I'm just seeing 9 runs in 51 minutes when we're seeing a Hamlin-Uele do 8 runs in 38. The same amount of tackles as Hamlin-Uele we're seeing here. So, and playing 13 minutes more on the park. So it is interesting, and he's not really working overtime in any sort of statistical category. Usually if we see runs down, tackles are up, but in this occasion, we're just seeing a basic level playing field there for Isaac Leo. So I do think the Titans have done really well to sign him. I think he's got the potential to go one better next season. Hopefully Kieran Foran and some more experience can bring that on. But he just wasn't himself. Sammy Verrills as well off the 9. I think it'd be perfect for him and his Roosters teammate as well. So that will work out really well for him. But I just don't think he found his groove or his role, I guess.
Well, he ended up losing his spot too. Because obviously we had Mo and Tino go into the front row, and the lock was Aaron Clark. So David Feeder and Bo Furman could be losing that back row, and he's not a back rower anyway. So, he was on the bench, and he was kind of like tinkering on the bench at one point too. So I hope that maybe he was a bit of the, susceptible to the fact that, was Toby Sexton, who was inexperienced at the 7, and we had AJ Brimo, who for the most part wasn't that great, but powered home a little bit later on. And also the number 9, we had no 9, as we've never really had a 9 at the Gold Coast. But, Sam Verrills comes in now, maybe they might be able to get some good ball to the forwards, which is what we saw last year in general. Most of the forwards just didn't really have great years. So, yeah, look, it's going to be interesting to see. I think I want to put him into the job, but at the bottom end, I agree with you. And big shout out to Callum here. I just want to say it was agreed by the Random Stats guy what my thoughts were, because he really likes him. I've got a mate of mine at the club who really likes him, and I think it's. I wanted to like him. It just hasn't been it for me. It hasn't been it. But
yeah. And for the record, I'm not having a crack at his personality at all. I'm just saying statistically what he's brought to the club.
Not saying, mate,
he could be the best bloke. I know, yeah. Fair enough. I just want him to know that David Klemmer is better than him.
Okay. Now let's get off this. We can't even go past David Klemmer. My goodness me. We've got how many guys there? 152 more guys to go. We're still talking about David.
I don't think we made a dent in that list, to be honest.
Yeah, not really, man. What did I say? I said Isaac Lee by the hour mark nearly, and we've already gone half an hour. We've only gone half an hour. Look at this, me. But all right, let's move on to the other nice player who made his New South Wales debut last year, which is not Daniel Saifiti, Jacob Saifiti, his brother there. This is I can't remember where we put him last year. I don't think he's. I think he's done a pretty damn good job. I don't think many of the casual fans or fans who watch, I guess, week to week would know a great deal about what he does. I don't think he does a great deal of the explosive stuff that most people could see, but I think that probably stats-wise, he probably does more than what people can see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he is lesser than Dan. Daniel is the main Saifiti brother. Statistically, at least he averages 14 more post-contact meters per game. He averages 10 more run meters per game, even though they have about the same amount of carries per game. So a lot more power in Daniel Saifiti's running game. But that's not to say that Jacob Saifiti is at all ordinary. He is basically giving average stats. He's around that 25, like 25th in all stats across the board for front rowers, which, as I mentioned continuously, that there are 54 front rowers we're going through. So that's about the mid-range, if not top half. So he is do the job for me, and he's kind of bang spank. He's almost like our middle point, I would say.
Yeah, I was thinking that
he's around there.
He's going to be the middle point or Blake Lawrie. I think that I personally if we're going to go based on that Origin game, I'd nearly put him in quality, but I've absolutely got him to do the job. Based on that individual game, he was very good. As a Queensland fan, I really respected his performance in that. However, that's why I was so confused, because that's all I've really seen from Jacob Saifiti. And a lot of people were very confused when he got that spot over the likes of your boy, your man, your crush, David Klemmer, because, you don't really see it. But I think that maybe that's why they selected him. But as you said, the stats are kind of bang on average. So I'd put him above Blake Lawrie, though.
I do think that Blake Lawrie is a bit better. He averaged 3 more runs per game than Jacob Saifiti and 3 more tackles. bear in mind he did have 5 extra minutes on the field, but I still like you see how many runs per minute most players are going at. It's still a bit more effort there from Blake Lawrie, so that's why I have him above him. But I'm happy for me to put him above. I'm happy to, mate. You gave me one. I can give you one. I'm giving you one here. You
The only
gave me
argument
Daniel.
that
I'm giving you Jacob.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair. But I would say the reason why I'd probably put Jacob above two is because he did have that Origin cap too. I think
Yeah.
he got that Origin cap, it does separate them a little bit. Even though maybe we both don't see him necessarily as a consistent Origin player, I think that having that Origin cap there does maybe separate the two. But you are right, I did give you Daniel there, so we'll give me Jacob, and now we're going to give me an elite right here in Jaimin Jolliffe. This is a bit of a cult hero on the channel from the Rugby League World Cup streams when Ireland were playing, obviously. International player, do not forget it, the big Jimmy Jolliffe. Look, I personally would put him in do the job. I think that he is a very solid player. I think that when he gets his minutes, he doesn't get a great deal of minutes because, let's be honest, the forwards of the Titans are actually really good. They just had a really down year last year, and Jimmy Jolliffe is a really, really good bench player there. And I think that I just don't know if he gets the amount of time necessary, but man, he runs that ball hard, and I'm interested to see the stats that are going to say whether that agrees with me or doesn't.
Yeah, mate, he does run the ball hard. Don't you forget about that. I think he's been really good for the Titans in general. Like, I know he's not getting as much game time as you would like, especially for an international forward like himself. But honestly, yeah, I think it's a bit hard to look into it. For me, I've got him around that bottom do the job.
I've got him above. I actually personally have him above Isaac Liu based on last year.
I think he is. I think, like I said, that's why I've got. Well, we did suffer for like Isaac Liu for do the job in the end, but I did have Isaac Liu and not that great, and Jolliffe above him around that do the job mark.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and I think that for anyone watching who doesn't understand, like I genuinely really like what Jaimin does, and sometimes you find players that are the epitome of a do the job. They're not that bang quality, they're not that great. You have that guy who is a very good player, but he doesn't have that extra spice about him to put him up in the tiers. So this is a player that I do really like. I think you do have to watch out for him in 2023 when he does get a crack there off the bench. But I think he absolutely is in at that bottom area of the job because there are other players in comparison that are going to show you a bit more based off of, what you see. But I think now we move on to the Penrith Panthers here. James Fisher-Harris, who I would actually make a big argument here for the fact that he did not have as great a season last year. But I feel like the whole Panthers, even though they won the comp, individually speaking, it didn't seem like the Panthers players overall actually were as good as we'd seen them in previous years. I think that James Fisher-Harris has definitely been top two, and I still would probably put him in the top two, realistically speaking. But do you agree that last year, individually speaking, it seemed like a lot of Panthers players were down, even though they still won the comp?
Yeah, absolutely. And, that could be a myriad of things. I think they missed Nathan Cleary, especially towards the back end of that year. Even though they were winning games, it wasn't the way the Panthers were winning games usually. They were doing it tough and gritty. There are a few big wins there, like against the Raiders when they won 36-6. But we know Raiders are in for a little bit of a couple of flops now and then. But I think James Fisher-Harris was just standing above. I think he's kind of led the forward pack outside of Isaiah Yeo. I think that he was really great, and I have him bottom end of elite. I don't really have him in my top two, to be honest. He isn't in my top two. I think there's two standout players last season who deserve that role. But for me, he's at the bottom half of elite. Among my top 5 front rowers, of course, 15 runs per game. That's the 7th most on average. He didn't really top any stats. Offloads 23rd, 18th for tackle breaks, 16th for post-contact meters, which you wouldn't think from big James Fisher-Harris in terms of averages either. So he wasn't really seeing the world of light this season like he have seen in the past. That's why he's come down a little bit from probably when we had this conversation last year, but still an elite front rower.
Yeah, no, that's what I agree, because we had him in second last year, and I think we both know who we had above him, but I was actually even trying to make an argument for the fact that I could see him in that number 1 spot based off of before last year. But I just think that, maybe that hunger wasn't there compared. I know they won the comp, guys. I'm very well aware of it. I was at the grand final. I watched it. But it just didn't seem like that hunger individually, stats wise, was speaking and screaming out for Fisher Harris last year. So that's probably why. Yeah, he probably will. He's definitely still in the league, absolutely, but he does drop down a little bit. I love how we're making a negative for him and he's still in the league. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, 100%.
we're giving him a relative negative rap and still in the top 5. Unbelievable. But let's move on now to he was at the West Tigers and now he's gone back up to the Cowboys. He's at the Cowboys and then the Panthers and then the Tigers and then now he's back up to the Cowboys. It is James Tamou. This is your boy here because you're a Cowboys fan. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, welcome back, James. Really looking forward to see how he goes in that role, especially. I think it'll be a really good positional battle between him and Jordan McLean. Really interested to see how Toddy Payton plays him off the bench. He averaged around 46 minutes, which is around the mid-mark, the normal mark that front rowers play. So no deal about that. And everything else was pretty average besides his offloads. He was 9th in the league for offloads per game. In terms of the front rowers we're talking about. Of course, his discipline a little bit air, but I've got him at the bottom half of do the job. I thought, he's averaging 11 carries per game, 85 meters on the lower side, but he is still making a good bunch of tackles at 26. And he is the oldest in the comp at the moment. He's 33 years of age. With Aiden Tolman retiring, he will become the oldest chap on the field in 2023.
So, are you happy to put him below Jimmy Jolliffe then?
See the Cowboy player below a Titan player.
I knew it's coming. Come on, man. You got to give me this one.
Mate, I gave it. Fine. I'll give you. I'll try.
Home, man. He's in a retirement home. Jimmy Jolliffe is a young stallion. He's a young stallion, the old Jimmy Jolliffe. You know, listen, you can
Townsville, great retirement.
Yeah,
great retirement home in Townsville.
I don't know. Okay, yeah, well, fair enough. But listen,
as long as he's on do the job, I don't mind.
He's on do the job. He definitely is there, and you can hold this over me because now you've got when I want something, then you get it. You know, when you want something, you get it now because you've given me the Jimmy Jolliffe above him. But next up here, we do go into Jarrod Waerea-Hargreaves, an absolute stalwart of this Roosters team. He's so strong. He's so tough. He's so everything about him is just so rough, and you love it. But this is getting a bit sexual, really, what I'm saying here. But he's a great
Davey Klemmer in it, I think.
Yeah, we're going to be hearing about Dave Klemmer this entire time, like straight up this entire time. But Jarrod Waerea-Hargreaves, man, where do you put him? Because he does have an error in him, and he also definitely has a sin bin in him. He has multiple sin bins in him, but he does have such unreal quality too.
Absolutely. Second for average penalties per game, almost 1 a game, which is extremely high. Obviously second, 11th for errors. So that is pulling him down a fair bit. Tackle-wise, he doesn't like to tackle. What he does love to do, though, is run the ball. Averaged 13 runs per game, and he only averaged 41 minutes. So one job from Trent Robinson for Jarrod Waerea-Hargreaves is just get your hands on the ball and just get those legs pumping because 112 meters, 18th for both of those stats as well out of all the front rowers. He's still got it in him, but he is taking a toll, and obviously the fatigue kicking in, the discipline, the errors start to kick in, less tackles in defense as well. So he is starting to slip down the scale, unfortunately. I've still got him on do the job. Now it's whether you want to put him above our midpoint, Blake Lawrie, or not.
I would personally take. Listen, I'm telling you, Blake Lawrie is the midpoint. There you go. See, but I think that I'd take Waerea-Hargreaves. I know he's a risky candidate, but I think he probably would just simply provide you more. And I think that a lot of Roosters fans are going to not like us because we're putting him into the job. I think a lot of them will try and say, chuck him into the quality section where he has been in the past, and he has been elite in the past. To be completely honest with you, but he definitely is getting on now, and there is way too many discrepancy issues. He definitely loves a good slap up on the field. So I'd personally put him above Blake Lawrie. Yeah.
Would you put him above Jacob Saifiti? Both played rep footy this year as well.
Yeah. Look, I would personally. Again, I always go back to that draft situation, and in a draft, removing age factor, I think that I like the potential of what Waerea-Hargreaves can do more than what Jacob Saifiti can do more, as in right this second. I know there's the risk factor there, but I would still say that maybe Waerea-Hargreaves would be able to provide a bit more, spice to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the right choice. He averages 20 more meters than him, 2 more carries than him, and Waerea-Hargreaves plays 5 less minutes than Jacob Saifiti. So there's your catch.
There you go. All right. So Jarrod Wallace here from the Dolphins. You can't even call them Redcliffe Dolphins. It's probably good because Redcliffe's not exactly that fantastic. But from the Dolphins here, I know he's still got the Titans jersey on. Look, with J-Well, I think that he kind of went backwards quite a bit last year, actually. And I think maybe it's because of off-field stuff, but also because it just maybe his heart wasn't necessarily in it. I think his heart came back into it later on in the year when he realized he was leaving and he'd been around the Gold Coast for so long. I think he's had a great time at the Titans, individually speaking, but I definitely feel like he's gone down a pretty bad path in regards to the fact he's quite consistent with errors, and I just don't see the same things I've seen from him. I would actually, and look, listen, I like Jarrod. I've had a lot to do with him over the years, but I think that he needs to prove a lot this year, and I'd probably put him at that probably top area of not that great.
I've got him even lower. I've gone bottom area of not that great. I mean, average 38 minutes, played 14 games this season. In particular is that he had the least runs of all the front rowers we're going through, 6.4, which isn't too crash hot, unfortunately. His offload game, he was in the top 10 for offloads per game. So there's a catch there, but also only making 18 tackles. 18 tackles, 6 runs per game. Not really doing much for his side, unfortunately. And, you hope that Wayne Bennett can unlock that spark in him. He did have, I think it was one of the first front rowers to score back-to-back first tries ever. So that's a stat that he's got on his head at least last season. So other than that, not much really going for him. I've got him below Bunty.
You got him below Bunty. I don't know about that. I feel like if I'm going to be fair, I'd probably still put him above Bunty. If you want it, you can have it. But think wisely with which one you want, because obviously, once I give you J-Well below Bunty, then it's back to free game. It's back to open game.
Yeah. Look, you know what? You can have. You know what? J-Well can go above Bunty, but I just want to leave this passing comment that they play the exact same minutes. And Bunty runs three times more a game than him, averages 30 more meters a game than him, and you know what? Tackles 3 times more than him, 3 more tackles per game as well. So I'll just let the commenters and all the listeners.
All right, listen, I've had to fight you for this.
That's okay. No, fighting. No.
I know you really desperately.
I insist.
I know you desperately want to put Jarrod Wallace above Bunty. I want to put him below Bunty. I know you really do. So listen, we're gonna put him below. I'll take this one. I know you.
Here we go.
You're a big J-Well fan, but listen, based on the stats that I just provided you, we're gonna put him below. We're gonna put him below Bunty here. But we go to.
Mate.
We go to.
You made
it, mate. What's going on?
Oh dear. I'm just looking and just going, mate. I'm looking at the players in front of me on who I need to convince you to move up, and I just don't have enough time to bargain here. Yeah, I have no time to bargain.
We've been here for 48 minutes, and I don't even think we've gone through half. But next up here, we go to Jesse Bromwich here from he's from the Storm, but now he's at the Dolphins. He has been in quality in the past. He's been very good in the past, but I do think that he's fallen off quite a bit now. I wouldn't go as far to put him in not that great, but I think I definitely put him in that do the job section.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's around the midpoint as well. I got him below Blake Lawrie, but I mean, Jesse Bromwich, I'm not going to talk about the credentials that he has on him, all the respect earned that he should be above Jaimin, but in saying that, he is tumbling down a fair bit. Only 10 carries last season, which is the 40th all up. So not too great for Jesse, but hopefully his work ethic comes up because he's going to have to work hard to get those Dolphins going.
Yeah, based on experience, man, I would take him over Jimmy Jolliffe. Yeah, I would. It's frustrating because I do really like the old Jimmy, but yeah, I would probably put Jesse there based on experience. And I think that he's going to have to he's going to have to step up to be what he used to be for the Dolphins if they're going to do anything this year. Absolutely. But let's move on now to the West Tigers, and a man that really has actually stood up quite a bit in 2022. Joe Ofahengawi, what's your thoughts on Joe?
Well, I think I put him in the same category as David Klemmer, that a lot of people are sleeping on his actual potential. I thought he was really good for the West Tigers last season. Obviously swapping between that lock and front row position, but playing some big minutes. Third in average minutes the whole year with 64 per game. He was 13th for runs as well. So really getting into his work. Actually fourth if you total it all up. Fifth for run meters, sixth for post-contact meters, and ninth for tackles. So top 10 in the key statistics. So I think he did really well this season in a pretty shoddy team. Of course, everyone's going to say, yeah, he had to make a lot of tackles because he was playing for the West Tigers. But you know what? I think he's very well deserved that role. The most tackles of any front rower this season. So for me, I've got him in quality towards the middle part of quality. I know it's a bit controversial because he's a West Tiger probably, and not many people see his potential.
Do you think that maybe because I think that he had a lot of potential, was never really living up to it, and then had that one big year? Do you think that he's going to consistently have that same big year from last year, especially now that they do have the likes of Klemmer there that's going to take some pressure off him? They've got the likes of Papali'i there that's now going to take some pressure off him. Do you still think he's going to be able to continue at that high level and not have to be the individual guy, as you've kind of referenced, that people are going to talk about? Do you think that he still is going to have as much impact, considering he doesn't have to be that simply just perfect guy in that forward pack?
I think his role is going to change a lot under Tim Sheens, but for the better. I think Sheensy knows what he's doing with him, and I'm not too sure if he played Origin last year, but I think there's an Origin recall here for Joe O. I think the forward pack he's working with is going to really motivate him to bring the best out of his game. Yeah, he is Queenslander. He did play in that 2020 series, like every other potential Queenslander that was available that week, dear. But I think this is going to be a big season for Joe O. It's one of my bold predictions that we're going to talk about Joe O a lot here. I don't think he'll get front row of the year, but I reckon he could get nominated.
Okay. I'd be happy to. Where are you thinking? Because I was definitely happy to put him in quality based on the year that he had. I'm just concerned about seeing it, and now that there's a lot more big forwards coming in that are going to take a lot of pressure off him and not force him to do so much. I personally maybe put him above Welch.
I've got him above Welch. Yeah, I've got him above Welch, below Daniel Saifiti.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, above Welch,
beautiful.
Below Daniel Saifiti. Mate, listen, look at us go. Look at us.
Mate, I thought I was going to have to bargain for that one, but you know what? I'm glad. Prove my point. Perfect.
Absolutely. Next up here, we move to your boys again here, which is the Cowboys, and it is Jordan McLean, who I'm going to let you have the floor with Jordan. I'm going to let you have the floor because you're a Cowboys fan. Usually when it's a fan of a team, we let them have the floor for a bit. And I'm not going to lie. I don't know a fantastic amount. I know I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to give you the floor for Jordan because I know that he has had his moments in the past for sure.
Absolutely. I thought this was probably one of his best years in North Queensland, to be honest. And it did get him an Origin call-up as well. And unfortunately, he did his hamstring during the training session, which was a real, I felt so bad for Jordan because he's really worked really hard at North Queensland. He's had some bad years in terms of the club's performance, in terms of his own performance, especially coming from the Melbourne system. But I thought this year was really his year. I thought he's definitely taken it up a notch. Where that lands him in terms of front rows, of course, we got to think about his age here. He is starting to come of age. He was still 17th for run meters, 17th for post-contact meters out of all the front rowers, that is. 5th for tackle efficiency at 97%. So really doing the basics really well. So I've got him for doing the job, but I've got him underneath. I've got him around that Blake Lawrie, Jesse Bromwich thing, but I just think that call-up for New South Wales, how North Queensland performed, kind of pushes him above that midpoint of Blake Lawrie, but I'm happy to have him down because I know he's around that.
Yeah, I was going to say above Blake Lawrie there because, again, as we utilised with Jacob Saifiti over Lawrie, I think that because of that call-up, and he did get the call-up, he just wasn't able to play due to injury, I think that puts him above Blake Lawrie because, let's not lie here. Blake's not getting a call-up anytime soon, and that's not me shitting on him. I just think that, these guys, there's a reason why they're being seen as selections over a guy like Blake. By the way, just for out of curiosity, do you know if Blake is New South Wales?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. He should
Well,
be. He's grown up through the Dragons system. I actually played against him during Harold Matt's days. We've got an SG Ball, so he's been a Dragon all the way through.
name dropper. Name
Name
dropper.
dropper.
My goodness me. He's about
You
to
think
tell
I'm
us
going to go an hour without talking about David Klemmer or name?
And we're back here to David Klemmer. Okay, we'll give it another 15 and we'll be back again. Maybe even 10. And we'll only be through 2 players by that point. But next up here, we're going to be going to the big fella from the Canberra Raiders, and that is Joe Tapine. And I'm pretty certain that we both know that he's going to go into that elite section. He had an absolutely incredible year last year, and he needed to because the Raiders, man, they were bad at one stage. They were bad at one stage, but man, he picked it up. And overall, like their forward pack really got a good going last year.
Mate, this guy is my most improved. Like he was scraping at the bottom of the barrel, getting his girlfriend to call out Ricky Stewart for a spot on the team. Boy, did he turn it around in 2022. Bloody hell, where do I begin? The most run meters of any front rower. And let me tell you, Regan Campbell-Gillard ran the ball 41 times more than him last season.
Wow.
And still didn't have as much run meters as Joseph Tapine. He averaged 151, third all up, 15 carries per game. Then we get into the tackles, average 12, 27 per game. He was second for tackle breaks, third for offloads, just an absolute menace in attack. You just couldn't stop him at all. The only thing that kind of let him down was a high error and penalty count, but you got to give it to him, mate. 52 minutes, he gave it his all. He ran the same amount of times and for the same run meters as Payne Haas and played an average 10 minutes less than him. So for me, Joe Tapine is my front rower, my elite of the elite.
Yeah, I've got him above Fish. I've got him above Fisher Harris there, which is a really, really gigantic rise considering where, we probably would have had him last year. I don't know if I think that he might have been even in the lock. Did he play lock the year before in 2021?
Yeah, he was lock. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he was with, I was doing that with Hayden at that point. But happy to definitely put him up there. Had a fantastic season with the Raiders. And, Ricky's obviously getting it out of him after his missus called him up and said, listen, get him in, get him in. And maybe that's what we have to do. Maybe I'll get my missus to call up and say, Justin Hoggle, chuck me in there. Billy, get me in the front row. Get BK Sport in there. Because obviously it's worked for Joe Tapine. But moving on now, we'll go to Josh Aloiai, Instagram blocker, Manly Seagulls player. Listen, you're going to have the floor here because this guy's a muppet for me. But where do you think he goes here? Because I think that he has his moments, but I also think he's a gigantic muppet.
Fair enough. Muppets aside, I think he's a fairly decent player. I thought he had a fairly decent 2022. Average 14 runs per game. That's the 8th highest of all the front rowers. 9th highest for contact meters per game. 8 for tackle breaks. His defense is probably his weak point. Only 17 tackles, so that's got him 45th out of all the players playing. So. Other than that, in his attack, I think he's one of the better players out of all the front rows, but his defense does let him down. I've actually got him bottom end of quality, top end of do the job, because I think that he is a solid forward. I thought he played seriously well for Samoa in the recent World Cup as well.
I think he did too, yeah.
So he was strong. He had a really good performance in a wailing Manly side. He only played 15 games, but when he got on the field, he really made impact for them in his 46 minutes on it. So he had one less run than Payne Haas and Joseph Tapine as well, and only played 10 less minutes than both of them. So I think it was a pretty good season for Josh Aloiai. He can hold his head up high. Manly front rower at the moment.
Yeah, I think Manly is struggling for front rowers really at the moment too,
Really?
which is, absolutely having a look at them. So the thing is, man, is that I've got to try and figure out how to, I guess, avoid my my public vendetta here with the Instagram blocker of Josh Aloiai to figure out whether I put him at the bottom end of quality or the top end to do the job. I think that I have seen enough that I would nearly put him right there below Twal as well. However, it's just like we have put... Like moving aside from David Klemmer, because obviously you have David Klemmer above personally, but would you really see that Josh Aloiai should be on the same level as Adam Fanor-Blake?
I see it, and there's going to be some stars that we're going to put in that quality outfit. So I'm happy for him to be on the do the job side. but I would have him above JWH. But I also do not
Yeah.
want to die on my sword for Josh Aloiai either.
All right. Well,
Full
let's keep
respect to
putting him
him.
down and not that great. Yeah. You want to test me? You want to test me? No, it's all good. It's all good. We'll
He's
put him
blocked you,
above.
right? He can't watch this, right?
Well, he can watch this. He can watch this, but he's sick of me calling him out over his nonsense boxing. But all right, let's let's move on now before we start. You would get me into a boxing fight. Go on then, Josh. Next up here we got Josh Papali'i. It's too late here in Fiji. That's what's happening. It's getting too late. But Josh Papali'i here from the Raiders. Is he at the same point that he used to be? No. Does he still do what he needs to do? Absolutely. Do you still have him in quality?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's still, I mean, to be honest, I think he's above Adam Fanua-Blake. I still think he does a great job. 12 runs, 114 minutes. Yes, it's not his best, but he's still doing pretty well for the minutes that he's on the field. Only 48 of them per game last season, but he's also really high on average tackle breaks, third, and also seventh for average offload. So still a menace and a handful in attack. Also making around 21 tackles, which is about that mid-range that we're starting to see from a lot of front rowers as well. So yes, he has come down. I think we might have had him in elite last year, but I think he is still top half of quality. In between Klemmer and AFB would be my preference.
Yeah, I think that my preference would probably be below AFB and above Jacob Saifiti, which is not too much of a difference here. Like we can swing either way here, get a bit of swing action going. But I think that for me, AFB is relied upon so heavily there for the Warriors, and I think that he does really live up to it. And I'm not saying that Josh Papali'i doesn't, because he's had such an unreal career, but I think that now he's also got Joe Tarpany there, who he can, he's got a little bit more assistance. So that's why I think that because Adam Fanua steps up so much and is that real prime forward at a Warriors team that you could make the argument for, because they're still struggling, that he has to do that. But overall, I personally would have Adam Fanua-Blake just above him. So do you want Papali'i above him?
No, I'm happy. I'm happy to have him below AFB. I think, as you mentioned, less reliance on Josh Papali'i in 2022. AFB, he needs to be on the field. The Raiders can afford having Josh Papali'i come off. They've got Horsburgh, they've got Gula coming off the bench, who can do not the same job as Josh Papali'i, but sufficient enough that the team doesn't really need him.
Exactly right. All right, we move on now to the Parramatta of the Squeal, and it is Junior Paulo, who is an absolute wrecking ball, mate. He is a big bopper. He's about 3 times the size of me, and I'm a big bloke. Where are you putting him? Because I'm thinking that he's probably going to have to go into that elite category.
I've actually got him a bit below. I've got him in quality for this one, and I've got him, below my my crush, David Klemmer, of course. Yep. But I'll go through it. I'll tell you why, and let's go from there. Well, first of all, only averaged 49 minutes on the field. Despite that, he was top 10 in average runs, 14 per game, which is just one below David Klemmer. He averaged around 122 meters, which was 30 meters below David Klemmer. So that's why I have David Klemmer above. Obviously, in terms of tackling, he does put all his effort into attack, and his defense does let him down in terms of effort, not in terms of missed tackles and all that sort of stuff. But we do see him only make 19 tackles, which is about 35th on that front rowers list. So definitely not putting as much effort into the defensive part, but that's not his role. I understand what roles are in different clubs, and his role is to be the wrecking ball. And in that terminology, he's good at it. He's a top 10 front rower in that retrospect, but the elite category is not made up of 10 players. So that's why I've got him the top half of quality, but in between Klemmer and AFB. In fact, originally on my list, I had him below AFB, but I'm happy to put him up higher.
I was about to say spot on there in regards to if we're going to go down, because you've got to pull my leg, you put Junior Paulo down. No, I'm not too fussed about the difference there, because as you were talking as well, I've remembered 2 streams where I've picked out moments of Junior Paulo making mistakes quite a bit too. Like maybe not even necessarily stats mistakes, but just mistakes in regards to things that you can just notice when you watch a lot of sport and when you watch a lot of rugby league. You can notice mistakes that players are making that aren't necessarily even going to come onto the stat sheet personally. So I think that he's definitely a fantastic forward, and I definitely want him on my team. I will agree with you. I'm interested to see what people's takes are on David Klemmer, though. That's the one that I'm really interested to see because one, you've gone for their throats and they're trying to figure out now how to recover from that, and then they're going to come for you. They're gonna they're gonna come for you, but I like it.
Look,
like your
I
thought
get
process.
it. Come after me. Come after me.
Go after him, man. He's ready for you. But we move on now to Lindsay Collins of the Sydney Chooksters, the Roosters. I thought he had a fantastic. Was it game one that he had? Yeah, I think it was game one of the State of Origin series. Didn't really necessarily do too much in game 2 or 3, but overall, he's a very, very solid front rower that you know what you're going to get from. I think that it's a hard one because he's not the guy that most people are going to see what he actually does. But if you know rugby league, you know this man is a very, very hard worker. And I personally would have him above Instagram blocker.
Fair enough. I've got him actually below Instagram blocker, but on the same level, I've got him on do the job. In attack, he doesn't really give too much. He's more of a defensive player, ranked 7 for average tackles per game, up around that 30 mark. So definitely pours more into his defense, where Jarrod Waerea-Hargreaves takes the lead there in attack with his carries. So definitely have him below there. He's 5th for average errors per game and average penalties per game, so that also hinders him. But still, nonetheless, 10 runs, 90 meters, 42 post-contact meters, which is much higher compared to his run meters and runs rank. Averaging around 47 minutes, which is 6 more than Jarrod Waerea-Hargreaves. But as I mentioned, the attack and the defense difference between those two, you can kind of see from the stats what their roles are in each club. And for me, I've got him in do the job. I've got him below JWH. I think JWH is more potent and someone who I'd actually draft over Lindsay.
Yeah, I'll agree with you based on what you just said. You're getting me. You're pulling my heartstrings with the draft there. I'm thinking the same thing in regards to if I'm taking a draft, I probably would say, yeah, the skill set of Jarrod Waerea-Hargreaves is potentially a bit more exciting and maybe a bit more, excitement potential there that will, get the fans going. I'm all about the fans here, mate, because I'm a fan. So I think we chuck Lindsay Collins above Jacob Saifiti and below Jarrod Waerea-Hargreaves. I'm happy to do
Beautiful.
that one. All right,
Happy.
we move on now to the Canterbury Bulldogs, and it is Luke Thompson. And I'm interested to see what you say here because for me, I actually think that listen, it's very hard to look at Bulldogs players and actually see them for what they are because Bulldogs fan base is very loud. They are a very loud fan base, and they're going to tell you, they're going to circle jerk every single player and say they're the best players in sliced bread. I don't know. I just don't see the same things that everybody else sees in Luke Thompson. And I could be wrong here. I could be the biggest Muppet that ever did Muppet, but I just don't see the same things that everyone sees themselves.
I really like Luke Thompson. I think statistically he gets through a lot. In the last 3 seasons, he's averaged 35 tackles per game. Yes, he's moved from the lock to the front row position, but he's still averaged 30 tackles per game last season for the Bulldogs, majority playing in that front row position. I think that he's really key in the defensive side for the Bulldogs in that retrospect. Of course, much like Lindsay Collins, his role is more defense than taking carries. He's on the field for 53 minutes per game, which is the 10th longest, the 10th highest average minutes of all the front rowers we're going through. But he is 30th for runs. He averages 11 runs for 92 meters. He's not much of a ball carrier. Tackle breaks, barely 1 per game. Offloads, barely 1 every 2 games. So for me, not much to show an attack, but what he makes up for attack is in defense. And for me, I've got him high up on the do the job. I've got him especially above Blake Lawrie. I don't have him above Josh Aloiai, but I do have him between Aloiai and JWH.
I was definitely thinking about, I wasn't even looking at Blake Lawrie. Like, as much as I don't see, I still know that he's a good player. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying that I can't necessarily see it. Maybe it's just my brain's not clicking on. I don't know what it is, but I would go above. I would still go above Jacob Saifiti, and I would still go above Lindsay Collins. And yeah, I actually probably would go. I would go above. I'll go above JWH. I've pushed myself all the way up there. We're putting above JWH, below Aloiai. Yeah.
Yep. I'm just pushing him there. I mean, Absolutely, JWH in terms of attack, much better. But then again, you've got like the polarizing difference there between you're comparing two players who are playing two different roles in the same position. And in that case, you got to look at Luke Thompson, who's going to make 30 tackles per game for you. He's going to have a fucking high efficiency at 94% as well. So I don't know. It's just like it's a difference of two. Whatever you like, whatever you prefer. Are you a defensive-minded statistician, or do you like the attack and the power? Because that's not what Luke Thompson brings. Luke Thompson brings that solid defense.
I'm saying, we'll lock him in there. All right, we move on now to Mark Nichols here at the Dolphins. I think that his cult hero status has kind of fallen away a little bit. I don't think it's what it was, and I think people are starting to understand that. I get it. I understand why people were, jumping up and down about it before, but I don't see it, man. Like I'm not gonna lie. Mark Nichols for me just isn't that guy, and I think that although he's gone to the Dolphins now, I also think that I feel really bad that I just keep shitting on him here at the moment, to be honest with you. But like, I think that the Dolphins, they were just quite desperate picking him up realistically, because they needed signings at the time. And I'm just not that big of a fan. I originally thought, yeah, get around him, cult figure, but I'd probably put him at the top end of not that great.
Well, it's very he was a cult figure when Wayne Bennett was around because he made him captain. So maybe he's gone up north with the potential of a captain dangling carrot for him to go up. But I think also it's his time. I think there's a few Rabbitohs, young forwards coming through the blocks, and it was probably the right move here from Mark Nichols if he was to get a bit more game time. Only averaged 35 minutes last season, so not too big in it. 10 runs, 90 meters, 9 meters per carry. Post-contact meters, forget about it. Defensively, only making 19 tackles. Didn't really make an impact statistically for me. I've got him at not that great, and I've got him in between Brandon Hamlin-Uele, BHU. No one calls him that. I'm going to start it. BHU and Coen Hess.
You're really struggling with that name, aren't you? Yeah.
Mate, fuck it. Mate, it's and I'm so sorry for the Polynesians watching me absolutely butcher it. I'm so sorry.
It's not even that hard of a name, like for the Polynesian, Braden Hamlin-Uele. Like it's
Hamlin-Uele. Oh, mate, just the way my tongue goes around, it just doesn't work.
You're right, man. But I think I'm happy with that too. I'd put him, yeah. So we're putting him below Braden Hamlin-Uele. Now I can't say it.
I told you, mate.
Hamlin-Uele and Corey Jensen, yeah.
Coen Hess.
Well, we've got Braden Hamlin-Uele. So you're putting him below in between Corey Jensen and Coen Hess.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. I've had Corey Jensen above Brandon BHU, so I will put him in between. I would put Corey Jensen above him. I think I'm going to give it to Corey Jensen. I think he works harder.
I'm happy to do that.
Perfect.
Yep. So, all right. Let's move on now to I think it's Martin Tapau here from Manly. Has been kind of looking to get out of Manly, which is kind of fair enough considering their state right now, but definitely not the player that he used to be. Not sure really where to put him. I probably would still just straight up put him in, do the job. I don't think he's the player that he used to be, though.
Absolutely. In fact, he actually doesn't have a club in 2023. He's looking for one because of the salary cap. He didn't get an extension from Manly. I don't think he wants an extension with Manly. I think he's looking. He's rumored
this year.
Yeah, he's rumored to go to the Parramatta Eels, which would be a great pickup, I think, for them. I mean, Junior Paulo coming off and then Marty DePaul fucking running at you.
Mate,
see you later.
For a contract. Like,
absolutely.
He absolutely should still be getting a contract. That's not, what I was saying at all in regards to the Gladstone who thought maybe, I was saying he's not good enough. I still think he can do the job, which is a great player, but, it just hasn't been. He's not the same guy that he once was, but I didn't even know that he had no contract.
Absolutely. So nowhere to go. He's averaging around 39 minutes, which is the same as your Coen Hesses, your Bunty Afoas, your Mark Nichols, as I just mentioned. Still carries the ball real hard. 11 carries, 99 meters, 14th for offloads. We know he's good for an offload. We know he's good for a tackle break, 16th as well, with 1.5 per game. So definitely a lot to like about Marty Tapau. Plenty to give to a club. Personally, though, I've just got him above the old timers there, James Tamou, and underneath Jolliffe, but I'm happy if you want to take him lower than that. But I still think he's a pretty decent player. To be honest, this is where I think Blake Lawrie wins the contest. Honestly, he runs the ball 3 times more than Marty Tapau. 6 more run meters, but of course he's not that big build as Marty Tapau. But in defense, he also makes 7 more tackles. So this is where I think Blake Lawrie wins.
Yeah, I personally. So you said above James Tamou, below Jimmy Jolliffe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can see it. Yeah, I'm happy with it, and especially puts a Titan above them too. But I think that on their peak, obviously, Tapau has been in that quality section. Don't necessarily know if he ever actually reached the elite status, but I definitely think that he has been high quality and is still a player that you'd want at your club. So I think that only certain clubs he would work with, though. Like, I don't think he would work at the Titans personally. I just don't think that's the kind of player that we'd be looking for. But overall, I think, yeah, you're right. You know, the Eels would be a great one there, and a couple of other Sydney teams could definitely snap him up there for not too much. If you're off a contract, he's not going to be asking for too much there, to be completely honest with you. But we move on now. We go to the Penny Panthers here, and this is going to be Matty Eisenhuth. What are your thoughts on Matty Eisenhuth? Because obviously he doesn't get a great deal of time with Fisher Harris there and Moses Leota. Bench option is do the job or not that great for you?
I've actually got him I got him below Isaac Leo here on do the job. I think he's pretty decent. I mean, he only averages 38 minutes, the exact same as like the Mighty DePaus and stuff. Carries the ball 9 times, 71 meters. We know he's not a player that makes many meters in attack, but he is 15th in tackles out of all the front rowers, despite his low minutes and only 16 games as well. So I do think, like, once again, this defensive player, not as good as the other defensive players like Lindsay Collins and Luke Thompson, who I've mentioned before. I think he still does the job there for the Penrith Panthers, and I think that they're really excited about him as well. I think that he does fill the role really well, does the job. He's not your Linu, he's not your Leota, he's definitely not your James Fisher Harris, but he just does his job.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, no, I like it. All right, we'll chuck him there below Isaac Liu. All right, we move on now to the Roosters, and it is a controversial figure here in Matthew Lodge. A man, he provided us the funniest moment on any stream last year on BK Sport when I think it one of our subscribers, which I think was Justin Sunday, who's actually a moderator. He's a Roosters fan, and I think he had a bet on the Roosters, to cover a line against the Dragons. And Matt Lodge literally passed the ball to the. This is the one where the Roosters won like 52-28 or something like that. It was a high scoring game. But Matt Lodge literally passed him the ball and then ran 90 meters and scored a try and screwed his bet at the time. And I've never seen a funnier reaction in the chat, man. He lost his shit at this guy. He lost his shit to Justin Sundo. My goodness me, I'm still laughing at that. But Matt Lodge, I think that he's a pretty quality player, man. I think that besides that moment, and although he might be a massive muppet to himself, realistically, I think that he's still a player that you do want on your team. I think he's a hard worker and maybe not the best player. I'm not putting him at the top end of quality by any means. And I actually don't even know where I'm going to put him here. I maybe put him. Actually, where would you put him? Because I'm thinking that around above Aloye, around that Twal section.
Yeah, I've got him just above Twal and in between Welch. I think he does an amazing job. I mean, 5th for average tackle breaks for the year. He carried the ball 13 times, made 117 meters, which ranks him top 15 in those stats per game as well. So really doing his job there. He does miss a few tackles. That is his only downside, I guess, and also has a high penalty count, but we know he's an angry man. I think he was really unlucky not to get a spot on the Australian tour as well. A lot of people just, what he's done in the past as well, I mean, is definitely haunting him and his reputation. And people probably want to deny him as a quality player, but I do have him in that quality list. I think he's a really good, strong player as well. Put aside all the stuff that he's done. We're not talking about that. We're talking about his footy, and he fucking plays footy really well. So for me, a quality player in between Welsh and Twal, to be honest, for me. But happy to negotiate.
No, I'm okay with that. I was thinking, around that Aloye Muppet Man and to Alex Twal area. So I'm okay to put him above there. And I think that he does give that extra bit of a little bit of spice there as well above that Twal section. Even though he does have that penalty in him, and he does also have the passing for an intercept for the Dragons to run for 90 meters in him. But no,
Yeah.
we'll put him there. But we'll move on now to my boy, my mate Maxi King. I've known him for a very long time now, since he's obviously at the Gold Coast Titans as a young bloke, and then went to the Storm. I didn't really find it there, and now he's at the Dogs. And mate, I think he had an unbelievable season last year, and that's not me being biased. I really think that he had a great season last year, and as I said before, Bulldogs fans are very loud, so you're going to think that he had a fantastic year anyway. But I genuinely think that he was just really good to watch, and I definitely put him up a lot more than what he would have been last year.
I mean, I'm going to name drop here as well. I played Harold Matts with Max King down at the Bears, 16th, and then first year of SG Ball in a 2-year period before he went to Newcastle. Wasn't picked by Newcastle, which I think he would have really loved, but they didn't pick him in the end. But he was unbelievable. He was a hooker back in the day, and I tell you what, this kid was a tall, lanky rake. Boy, did he go! He went to Newcastle for SG Ball. He came back a monster, honestly, a horse. And ever since then, he's just deserved every accolade. I think I was really feeling for him at the Melbourne Storm when he did his Achilles. Just couldn't have come at a worse time for him. I thought he would have probably won a prem with the Melbourne Storm and been that premiership winning side in 2020 had he had the chance, but out injured. Now he's showing his potential here at the Canterbury Bulldogs, and mate, so happy to see him do well last season. And for me, he is a quality player, but not just because I know him, but mainly because of what he was able to do. 8 for offloads. We know he's a great offloader. If you're a Titans fan, you know that as well. He was top in the offload count back then when he was playing for them. 8 for tackles as well. More of your defensive front rower, but also he can pin the ears back, averaging 47 minutes per game. I expect that to tick over, be even longer. Averages 11 carries, 91 meters. He's not making a lot of errors. He's not making a lot of defensive decisions. Missed tackles either, averaging 97% tackle efficiency, averaging 29 tackles a game. For me, he is a quality player, and I actually have him above Daniel Saifiti and in between Josh Patali.
Love it, mate.
I
love it.
Love it. Done.
I love it. You don't even need to. I know you're about to argue it. You don't need to. You don't need to. I love it. I think he was really good to watch, and every time he was with the ball last year, I think that it was just really. I'm just so happy for him that he's been able to find that groove, because I know it's been a long grind for him to get to this point and have the opportunity, because he had an opportunity at the Titans, but I think he was just a bit too young and didn't really take, didn't grasp the ball by the horns there. And then, yeah, look, maybe it didn't suit him down there in Melbourne, and he gave it his best shot, but it just didn't work out. But now he's at the Bulldogs. He has that free reign to, play alongside the likes of Luke Thompson, and they're a team that's building, the Doggies. They're a team that's building, and I'm just very happy for him. So he goes. So we're going above Daniel Saifiti, below Josh Papali'i, yeah.
Yep.
No, that's fantastic. Absolutely. All right, next up here, we go into a really interesting one, because last year we had Moeaki Fotuaika in the elite section. I think I had him at very top of quality, but you did want to put him in elite. I said, yes, you don't have to pull my leg too much there, because I'm going to chuck him right up there as well. But unfortunately, in 2022, the Titans, especially the forwards, had a really, really down year. And Mo was probably one of the more disappointing, if not the most disappointing, because Dave Stats, just want to throw it out there, he's still damn well pretty good, man, even though Muppets out there want to talk shit. I would possibly say the most disappointing forward for me in 2022, nearly across any team, was Moeaki Fotuaika, who has so much ability. He's a big bopper, I don't know. I just feel like he may have been led down the wrong track, and then hopefully 2023 he can get back to it with the likes of Sammy Verrills and Foran that help him out, and hopefully Toby gets back to some good form, or Tanner, whoever goes into that half spot. I personally, I've still got to have him in quality, because I know what he can do, man. I know what he can do. He's not going to be as high as he once was. I would possibly be looking to, for the time being, I would personally be looking between above Matt Lodge, below Christian Welch.
Yeah, I think this player, Fotuaika, has had the biggest drop of all the players we've kind of gone through. I mean, Tarpanay probably the biggest rise, but Fotuaika for me, really disappointing 2021. I thought 2022 would really be his year. A bit more competition with Leo coming into the forward pack and all that sort of stuff. He played more games this year than last year, but had 12 less tackle breaks, 4 less post-contact meters, 8 less offloads, averaged 20 less meters per game as well. He really He really didn't leave much in the tank at all. But in saying that, he is still a wrecking ball. 15th for run meters, 113 per game. 13th for post-contact meters. 11th for tackle breaks per game, 2.1. So he can still have that potential. We just need to see more energy from Mo Fotuaika this season. For me, he dropped down to the top of do the quality. That's how close he was to quality. But I'm happy to have him at the very bottom of quality here, to be honest.
If we'll go back to the draft scenario, if you're given Moeaki Fotuaika, Matt Lodge, Alex Twal, because I wouldn't be putting him. I know the potential of Moeaki is in elite, but we're not even looking at that section there. But I'm saying, like, if you had those three guys there, surely you would take Fotuaika over the other two.
I think that he had an off season. I think he's got more potential to improve. I think Matt Lodge has hit his peak. Alex Twal also hit his peak. I don't think he can offer more than what he's doing. Maybe if he scores a try. Yeah. Well, we don't know. Wait, mate. What if he's the top try scorer next year? Then we'll be laughing. He goes into elite category.
Mate, that's going to be the most unreal season in the history of any sport ever. That's better than Leicester winning the Premier League in 2016. That'd be something else there if that happens. But I really want to put him below Christian Welch just because I know that it was a bad year, but we both know the unreal potential that he does have. And now that he's got a better team around him, maybe the whole forward pack that really is a good forward pack can rise again.
Absolutely. I think that he has the potential to get back to that spot. Still really young, lots of time to get better. And I think with that forward pack, Sammy Verrills, as you mentioned, even like Kieran Foran running the shop too, it's going to take a lot off him. So I feel like this is a year for Moe, but he's got to improve. Otherwise, he is going down that do the job section.
Listen, Mo, you're going to be. I've done my fighting for you this year. I've had to fight for you this year, mate. Come on, you got to pick it up. You got to pick it up. So in 2024, we can be arguing between top of elite or top of elite. All right, next up here, let's move on to the Penny Panthers, and I think this is. Oh, by the way, I just want to confirm. So have you agreed with me to put him above Matt Lodge, below Christian Welch?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Well done. I love your work. All right, next up here, I think it is Moses Leota, and it is Moses Leota from the Penny Panthers. I think this player is just simply unreal. I think he's a really tough worker, really hard ball runner. I think that I actually think that he had a good year, a really good year in 2022 compared to previous years that people haven't been able to see as much from him in previous years. But I really think he had a really good year in 2022.
Oh, well, that's really good to hear because he only averaged 40 minutes per game, which is towards the lower end of all the front rowers we're going through.
Okay, well then
not
I might
much
just
time
pretend,
out there.
No, just pretend that I didn't actually speak. I might just not talk anymore. How about
that? Well, he made all his 10 carries per game, obviously memorable, 93 meters per game as well. Post-contact meters really low. So statistically for me, I had him do the job, but above around that Luke Thompson, Jarrod Waerea-Hargreaves area. Just statistically not putting up the same numbers as Jarrod and Luke Thompson. So that's why I had him a bit lower, but I know what he's a premiership winning forward. I'm not going to cut his credentials.
Am I maybe thinking about his form from 2021 then when I think like that?
I think
because for some reason I have in my mind that he had a really good, I think he just really was underrated.
I think that he just made the front row position his own in 2022. I think he really had to seal that front rower's position. Obviously, people were thinking, does Spencer Leniu get into that role for 2022? So a lot of that in that space of mind. But obviously, less meters per game last year on year. When I look at it, offloads half that, tackle breaks 10 less. But he did play 6 more games in 2021. So maybe I'm seeing it. Maybe it is 2021. But I thought Leota was outstanding for the Panthers. And for that's why I put him a little bit higher than what his stats actually show. If I'm drafting, I'm taking Moses.
Yeah. I love Moses. I don't know what it is. Maybe his stats just don't read well. Maybe just when you're watching him, he looks a little bit better. Maybe. But I'm happy to put him down there based on those stats, and that's still being pretty gracious based on those stats. Realistically, I do still want to personally, man. I don't know. Like where are you saying above Waerea-Hargreaves?
Yeah, above Waerea-Hargreaves, below Luke Thompson.
Okay, we'll put him there. I'm happy to put him there. I don't know what it is. I really, it's weird to me. Maybe I'm in an alternate universe, mate. Maybe I'm in a different reality where he had an absolutely unbelievable season, and then when New Year's hit, it's changed, and has not had a great season. But let's move on now to the Melbourne Storm. And it is Nelson Asofa-Solomona. Now, this guy is an absolute ball wrecker, son. He is a scary bloke to come up against. Where are you looking at for Nelson Asofa-Solomona?
I've got him high up in quality. I'm just having a look here on where I'd put him. I'd almost put him above Max King, in between Papali and King there. I think he is absolutely unbelievable. Number one for tackle breaks per game, 3.4, 5 for offloads. Just an absolute menace in attack, 7 for tries, 12 for post-contact meters. He does rank first for most errors, so he does have an error or two in his game, which could pull him down. So I do get that side of the things. But in terms of attack, he's just... Mate, he is just scary. One of the, you know what? It's him, James Fisher-Paris, and Junior Paulo, the 3 players. James Fisher-Paris. We're doing French here. No, yeah. James Fisher-Harris. Those three are probably the last 3 players I want running at me. Adam Fanua-Blake also you can chuck in the mix too.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, absolute wrecking ball defensively, a lot softer, only 17 tackles per game, much lower than the players. In fact, bottom 5 of all the front rowers. But yeah, geez, he's a menace in attack, so I have him in quality. So in between there, I'm talking to myself. I'm always putting him now between Daniel Saifiti and Joe O. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was actually I definitely agree with you there. I thought you were going to argue between Adam Fanua-Blake and Papali'i, and then I was actually going to argue between Papali'i and Max King. But I think that I still think that Nelson probably is someone that you as a front row forward, if you're looking directly at a front row forward and what they provide, I think you're probably looking at him over my boy Max King, to be completely honest with you. But if you do want to put him below him, I'm okay with it. I just think that maybe Nelson is that real tough front row forward that you just absolutely love to see, absolute ball wrecker, and he's a scary bloke. And I think that front row forwards, they're meant to be scary, and I think he's a bit more scary than Max, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I had him originally, in between Papali and King. So I'm happy for him there.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, right. Pronunciations, mate.
Listen, it's better than Brandon Hamlin-Uele, which is what you've been saying basically.
BHU.
BHU. All right. Next up here, we go to the Brisbane Broncos, the Schmonkos, and I think that Payne Haas is just going to have to go into the elite category. I don't think that. I'm not gonna lie. I think his stocks have actually dropped a little bit in comparison to what I think stats wise. He's still going to be the greatest. Don't get me wrong. I think stat wise he might be second to Tarpanay and whatnot. But overall, I don't think Payne is as clear and dominant a leader as he once was in that front row forward category.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say. Like stats wise, he is still pushing up those numbers, which is great to see. And it's like another player that we'll get to in just a second, who you think like, okay, the team's performance isn't really showing kind of what he's providing, but he's still proven that he's an absolute wrecking ball. Second for most average run meters per game, 151. He's carrying the ball 16 times, which is the most of any front rower in 2022. First and post contact meters per game as well, 77, which is absolutely outrageous to average that number. Usually 77 post contact meters is a good score. So the fact that he's averaging that week in, week out is amazing. Tackles, he's still in the top 20. So really not taking the foot off the gas at all. And still 62 minutes, which is the 4th most of any front rower on the park, and he only plays front row where other players have kind of moved from lock to front row as well, albeit still in the middle, but a lot more work is done in the front row, that's for sure. So for me, I've got him in between Joseph Tarpanay and James Fisher-Harris. Still think he is top 2 in the league.
And this is hard for me because obviously I'm not a big fan of the old Schmonkos, but I would still even I could definitely listen to an argument that would put him in first still. Like I think that based on the numbers that Joe Tarpanay had last year, you know, maybe Payne Haas is still consistently showing those numbers and he's still consistently that guy. I actually would still probably make an argument that he should still be number 1.
I'm happy to have him number 1 on the back of consistency. Well, the only reason Joe Tarpanay is first, let's be honest, it's elite. If we average the last 2 seasons together, Payne is by far the best front rower in the game.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to have him 1.
All right. Yeah, we'll put him one. I just think, yeah, overall, I think that would be, I think the numbers still represent it. I can't believe that I'm having to talk to you about the stats in regard. I'm the stats guy here saying, you know what, the stats probably show Payne Haas should be the number one there over Tarpanet. But yeah, look, I think it's not really a great deal of difference. I just think that maybe Payne has been withdrawn in regards to that gap that he once had at the top, clear top of the front row department. It's me ending that. Do you need to say something else here?
No. You can end it. You can end it.
All right.
Please. Holy fuck.
So we've been here for an hour and a half, or just over an hour and a half, I think, and we've still got. Oh my god, we've still got a whole line.
I know. Oh fuck.
Well, you know what? We're going to chat this on here, lads. You definitely can't tell me that you can't tell me that we haven't absolutely analyzed the shit out of every single player. You know, this is what we do. Is hit the thumbs up button and subscribe, and just sit back and go and grab another beer because we'll be here for another 3 hours. But moving on now, we go back to the Parramatta Squeals, and it is Regan Campbell-Gillard. I think you were just saying, is this the one you were just referring to in regards to the stats? And when we're talking about Payne Haas?
No, there's another player that I was going through. I thought Regan Campbell-Gillard had one of his better years, deserved his call up to that New South Wales side. He played every game of the year for Parramatta as well, so he's consistently there. Second most minutes of any front rower outside of Joe O, who played a little bit more basically with that back row style. But you just got to love what he did. First, most runs of any other player in the front row, 420. Second for run meters out of all the front rows. Of course, he's going to have those stats. When you average it out, he's still 15 runs per game, 133 meters per game. In terms of tackles, he is still up there as well, making around 23 tackles per game. On top of that, with a 96% efficiency. So, for me, I think that Regan Campbell-Gillard, to put up those numbers week in, week out for 28 games last year, really says a lot about his character and his durability, his fitness, his preparation for games, all that strength and conditioning stuff. So really do think he's a quality player, and I have him above Junior Paulo, but below David Klemmer. How dare I get his name wrong? I've been saying it all day.
This is your man crush, and you get him wrong. It's unbelievable.
I know.
Maybe we should drop him down because of that.
No.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that because I really did enjoy Klemmer. So I think that it's crazy that Parramatta have two forwards there that are right next to each other in regards to that section, because out of all the 52 players that we're going through, the Eels players wind up literally right next to each other. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Next up here, we go to one of your boys who's had a really breakout season, and that is Reuben Cotter. Very, very man, the way that man runs the ball is just exciting. It's fast, and he's just got so much power, and he's not exactly the biggest of blokes, let's be honest.
Absolutely. And you know what? Full credit to Reuben Cotter. This is probably one of the best seasons off the back of an ACL injury I've ever seen from a player. Playing in the front row, playing 60 minutes per game last year for 18 games. Of course, I think he did his hammy, was out for 4 weeks, and boy, did the Cowboys miss him. I think there was a run with him in the team where the Cowboys had like 7 halves in the first 10 games, 7 second halves in their first 10 games where they didn't concede a point in that second half. And that's purely off the defensive prowess of Reuben Cotter. I thought he was absolutely amazing. He was just basically glue in that front row pack. Obviously, coming back from that hamstring injury kind of set things down a bit. Had he not had that hamstring injury, would North Queensland go further as a one-eyed Cowboys fan, potentially? But still, I think a great season from him. 13 carries, 113 run meters. Most importantly, second in tackles, 36 tackles per game. We're talking here at a 98% tackle efficiency. He's just absolutely unbelievable. Didn't make an error, barely made an error, 0.1 whole season. I think he is above David Klemmer. I've got him elite.
But that's high.
One season, but I do have him really high quality. I think, obviously, I'm happy to pull him back below Junior Paulo if we have to, because
that's exactly where I was looking, yeah.
But I thought that his season this year, breakout season, Australian selection, Queensland selection. Deserves it because, mate, to still be putting up those numbers after doing an ACL, you usually see players take it easy in the first season back, but he was full board, didn't care at all. And mate, I love watching him play each week.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I would definitely, and that's exactly where I was looking at right below Junior Paulo, just because the guys above him have, year in, year out proven it. And the same goes for Finn Blade, but I still would take Cotter there too, just because he is just such an electric player to watch, especially in that. I guess he's kind of redefining the position in a way, the way that he plays comparatively to the guys that are above him. But I still would personally, for the time being, I think by the end of this year, you could definitely, put him up there into that elite category if he does it again. But it does come down to that fact that, a lot of people, and myself included, I'm just concerned if the Cowboys can repeat a miracle year, because it was a miracle year. Everyone had him for the bottom, and then they exploded out of nowhere. All players seem to explode out of nowhere. So do they do it again? I'm not sure. Probably. I think they're definitely going to still be up there.
Yes, they do it again.
I know you say
they do
it. I get that. I'm concerned. So are you okay putting him below Paul, which is still very high for a guy who's just coming
absolutely. Mate, I think it's fair respect. Obviously, in terms of 2022 performance, he's elite for me. But of course, we got to consider the multiple stats from previous seasons. And, Paulo, Regan Campbell-Gillard, Klemmer, Fisher-Harris, Payne Haas, they've been doing it for the last 3-4 seasons.
Yeah. Individual season wise, he did definitely have an elite season. All right, let's move on now to the Sharkies. And it is Royce Hunt here, who is actually pretty fun to watch. I don't necessarily think he's going to be that high on this list, to be completely honest with you, in an overall aspect, really. But I think he's still quite a fun player to watch, and he is a real hard runner of the ball. I'd still probably put him in that do the job section, though, but I'm not too sure where in do the job. I don't think it would be high, and I'm not saying that he's a bad player, and I don't think the guys down the bottom area are really that bad players, which is what do the job is, I guess. But I think that he is just simply a very similar player in regards to a Jimmy Jolliffe, really.
Yeah, he's actually quite unbelievable for the amount of work he gets through in a game. He's last of all the minutes played by all the front rowers we've done. He's ninth for average tackle breaks per game, though. That is absolutely nuts. He's an absolute wrecking ball. 9 carries per game in that 30 minutes. That's a carry almost every 3 minutes, which is pretty good for a front rower. He's just obviously defense. He doesn't really work that hard. The lowest of tackles, only 13, but he's got one role, and that is to run it straight. And boy, does he do it, and he does it well. I can't believe that 9th in tackle breaks, despite being the lowest run front rower. The same amount of tackle breaks as actually higher average tackle breaks than Braden, Hamlin-Uele. For that case, I've got him above BHU.
So after all that, you've put him at the top end of not that great.
Yes, after all that. Because he doesn't play the same amount of minutes. And would his role be different if he was playing 40 minutes odd? I mean, it's a great spiel. But I'm just taking him out of unproven because I think he's a classy player.
That's unbelievable, because I thought you were trying to tell me that you're going to try and put him into the quality section. I was waiting for a crazy comment like he's going to quality. And the stats you were saying there, like the excitement, the passion that you had behind Royce Hunt, it was going high. It was getting elite status. And then I hear BHU and I'm thinking, what the shit just happened here? I just had a complete 360, man.
Mate, in the end, he averages 9 runs a game and 13 tackles a game. So he's not really doing much. It's just his tackle breaks is quite astounding, I thought. And that's what I was really passionate about. And I think it'd be great. I thought he was amazing for Samoa in that Rugby League World Cup as well. Really made a name for himself on the international stage. And I think he's going to get more game time next year as well. But for me, I just don't think the stats that he, like outside of the tackle breaks, which I probably made a big hoorah of just then, as you can tell.
You did, because I was thinking it was going high.
No. I've got him above BHU. I think that was just trying to get him above BHU there.
True. Oh, well, I'd still even okay. No, you know what? We'll put him down there. I would still make the argument for at least above Matty Eisenhuth personally. But if you want to chuck him into the top end of not that great, I'm okay with it. I just think that uh, I personally would absolutely prefer Royce Hunt over Matt Eisenhuth.
Yeah, I think it's just basically they play Matt Eisenhuth on for 8 minutes longer, but also has double the amount of tackles than
Okay.
Royce Hunt, the same amount of meters. Obviously, Matt Eisenhuth is not even half the wrecking ball that Royce Hunt is, but that's the only reason I'd had Eisenhuth just above him is because he does do well in attack and defense, a bit more two-dimensional rather than Royce Hunt.
Yeah. All right. We'll keep him there. All right. Next up here, we move to Sean Keppie of the Manly Seagulls. And not gonna lie, I'm not the greatest fan. I don't see much. I don't really see many people saying much either. I have never really. I'd personally put him into the not that great section.
Yeah, I've got him the lowest ranked of all the players, to be honest. I don't think he is anything crash hot. The lowest amount of runs, actually just as low as Jarrod Wallace. He's got 6 runs per game, 56 meters. In defense, he only averages 16 tackles. He averages 32 minutes on the field. Doesn't really have that X factor. There's nothing really going for him. I wouldn't really be excited if he signed for my club, or I wouldn't really consider him as a draft pick. I've got him really low, to be honest. I'm picking J-Wall over Keppie.
Tell us how
That's
you
for
really
sure.
feel. Tell us.
Well, it's nothing against Keppie. It's nothing against nothing about my hate for Manly, but I just generally just statistically there is nothing there that arouses me, I guess, in the sense.
Well, that's what happens, guys. We're getting late in the night, and it's starting to talk about players.
It's all about arousal.
If they arouse us, man. But no, I agree. I think that that's what I'm saying. I don't see much, and I don't think anyone talks about him. And I'm so sorry if he listens to this, because we've just basically said that he just doesn't exist, basically. And he does. What was it? 36 minutes he's on the field.
32.
32 minutes on the field, and we don't even know that he exists. So, I really do apologize if you've watched this. And, Rando has also said that you don't arouse him. So, it's a tough life you've got there, man. But at least you're getting played to play footy.
Mate, no one rebounds. No one rebounds after hearing I'm not aroused by them. No one ever rebounds.
It is at Brookvale that has asbestos problems, but at least you get to play some footy there, and you get paid for that reason. But let's move on now to Spencer Leniu here of the Penny Panthers, and I really get excited. And buddy, I tell you what, when he's running that ball, maybe we're talking about arousal, but he's a tough runner, man. And I think that it was him and for the Rabbitohs, there was a player off the bench that I was tossing up between, the bench player of the year coming on, because I just think that whenever Spencer Leniu comes on that field, he is really just dangerous. He's a dangerous player there. I think he was actually better for the Panthers than he was for, I think he played for Samoa in the Rugby League World Cup, but I think he was better for the Panthers there off the bench. And I don't know what the Rabbitohs player that I'm thinking about there is, but man, every time I see him play, I've got him in quality. I've got him in quality.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, he averages 23 minutes a game. So for me, he's really not coming on the field for much longer. So that's me just kind of pulling him down. But boy, that is 23 minutes. He makes impact, 6 carries, 66 meters per carry as well. He's still getting up those really high run meters as well on top of that. So for me, I think, yes, an attacking wrecking ball. And the fact that he's only on the field for a quarter of the game and you still recognize him just shows how much he provides to that Panthers outfit. I thought he was exceptional for the Panthers in the grand final as well. He really gave it to Paulo and RCG as well. So for me personally, I've got him in that do the job section, but I'm looking and I'm leaning him just above Jordan McLean, above Jacob Saifiti, only for the fact that he's not that statistically influential to the team off the back of those minutes, but obviously he has a job that he does.
I just think if he played overly, I think that he had that. It's weird though, because I just picked up Moses Leota, and now I'm about to say that I think that Spencer Leniu should be there instead of Leota, but then I don't think he should, because Spencer Leniu is that really impactful player off the bench. It's hard. I think it's really harsh to drop him all the way down below Jacob Saifiti there. But in the same sense, then you look up above him, and there's guys there who do play good minutes, like really good minutes. But in those limited minutes, which I think is the perfect kind of play style for Spencer Leniu, he is just so electric and energetic. I don't know. It's hard. I definitely would have him above Jacob Saifiti though. I would. It's really crazy because I would put him above. Like I would put it. It's I don't know. This is really confusing me because I just know how good he can be. So where are you wanting to put him again?
I don't mind putting him. I was going to originally put him between Jacob and Jordan McLean purely because Saifiti, obviously Lenu, international level only, can only play internationally, not in the Origin arena. So kind of, but I still do think that New South Wales team could beat most of the international teams going around. So for me, it's a very tough one to pick between those two. That you almost put them on top of each other. But I'm happy as a two-time premiership winning forward, I'm happy to put him above.
Yeah, okay, we'll put him above there. Just for the record, guys, I think that based on what he shows in the limited minutes, if he got more minutes, then he would be in the quality section for me. But he doesn't get the quality those amount of minutes. And also, I do have that doubt that potentially, if he had those extra minutes, that he would be as impactful. So it's a very difficult one there in regards to Spencer Leniu. But that short amount of time, I would put him in quality. But there are still other players here that play for longer that deserve to be above him based on those minutes, which is basically kind of what we just got up there. But let's move on now, and we'll go to Stefano Utoikamanu. I want to hear you say his name right now. How about that?
Stefano Utoikamanu. I can do that one.
You got that one. You got that one. But from the Tigers there, what were we saying?
Oh, that was just a tick, just a basic tick.
Well done, mate. Yeah. Well done. Yeah, gold star for you, man. But Stefano,
mate, we're an hour and 45 minutes into it. Give me this one, please, for the love of God.
You've got the gold star, man. You've got it. I gave you the gold star. Listen, just wait on. You'll get a second gold star soon. But where would you put Utoikamanu, man, for the Tigers, especially now that he does have a really solid forward pack behind him as well?
I was really disappointed. I think just up there with Fotuaika, I thought that he has such potential. He was in that New South Wales extended squad in 2021. Obviously didn't make it in 2022. He kind of fell off the radar, only played 9 games last season, averaged 33 minutes. So wasn't really getting that starting role, which when we look at that Tigers forward pack, you'd expect him to be starting if he's going to be a full-on player. 7 carries per game, 64 meters. Just not putting up much numbers, 18 tackles per game as well. For me personally, I've got him in that not that great category, and
that's a big drop.
I've got him around that. I've actually got Corey Jensen above him, but he's around that Mark Nichols. Even Mark Nichols could probably have him as well. So it's just really tough for Utoikamanu. I really think that he has the potential. He has the potential to be better than those players, but last year was just
I agree. Yeah, I agree. That's what I was saying. That's why I was trying to big him up in a sense of, now that that's why I said now that he's got that good forward pack behind him, what do you think now? And, I think that overall, he's not going to be able to outshine the likes of Papali'i. He's not going to be able to outshine even Alex Twal coming back. Obviously, hopefully he gets better from his injury and he's able to go again because it's a tough injury to come back from. And who is the other side? They've got Apikotasau now that's going to be taking it in regards to that hooker role. And who's the other one that came to the Tigers that I think we've already spoken about him. Oh no, Joe Offengow is another one.
Yeah, Joe. Yeah,
and your boy, buddy, your boyfriend David Klemmer. Look, I think that it's going to be really hard for him to shine, and I think that I would personally say that Tigers fans might be disappointed by the fact that we're going to put him down there in that not that great section, but. It was a big drop-off, and if we're dropping Moeaki Fotuaika from that elite section down to where he was, and I think you were even looking to drop him further, I think we have to put Utoikamanu down there into that not that great section. But I am surprised that you want to put him below. So what's his name again from the Sharks? I think it's
BHU. Just BHU.
Oh, BHU.
Just
okay.
BHU. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I thought it was Braden Hamlin-Uele or something like that. I'm surprised you want to put him below him. I would have put him above him still.
I think in terms of potential, you can put him above, but it's just so hard. 25 less meters per game year on year, 16 less offloads. I know he played less games, but he was a real menace in attack for the Tigers, and I don't know where it happened, but he just completely dropped off it. For those who are Supercoach fans, probably would have had him in their team at the very start of the season. He was averaging around 45 points, dropped down to 25 points. He's kind of just slowly going to abandon this. And with this all-star Tigers pack, well, it's sink or swim for him, honestly. He's on his last year of his contract. Oh, sorry, 2024 is his last year. But boy, will be looking for a re-sign with the Tigers or somewhere else. So obviously he's going to play to his potential next season. And hopefully being around good players, he picks up from there. But I don't know if I can have him above BHU, to be honest, honestly. We're talking about a second place Sharks outfit against a 16th place West Tigers player. I just can't see it.
Yeah, well, listen, no, I'm not going to make the joke I was about to make. It was really stupid. Yeah, look, we'll put Utuakamanu below Hamlin-Uele. Are you okay to put him above Corey Jensen, though?
Yeah, I think that he's got enough potential to take over Corey Jensen based on his 2021 season as well. He did play well, so I'm going to give him that benefit of the doubt.
100%. All right, let's move on now to another Manly forward who realistically is probably going to go into this section too. Tony Lopeseka, I don't see anything. I don't think he's going to be necessarily Sean Kepi, but I really think that he's going to be in that not that great section. I see errors from him. I don't see a great deal of oomph about him, and unfortunately, I'm going to put him in this section too. I'm not too sure. I'd probably put him quite low in it as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're right about the errors as well. He's 4th for average errors per game, almost making basically one every
game, at 4 least, errors.
No, 4th out of all the front rowers for errors.
I was going to say 4 errors per game is outrageous.
I don't know how he gets away with 11 games and keeps going at that rate. No. He does have. Look, it's not pretty stats either, and I've got him basically
he might be Kepi.
He might be. And this is sad because this is the Manly starting front row we're talking about now. So for me personally, not much going for him. 10 runs per game, 93 meters. 10th in tackle breaks, probably the best. And 12th in offloads per game as well. That's probably the highlight for him. But other than that, not much doing. It's got to have to be a big year for Taniela. Anthony Seibold needs to get a lot out of his front rowers. And I mean, Josh Alloway, as I said, he'll definitely be a starter, but we're looking for that second player to step up. And you've got Morgan Boyle, you've got Toa Sipley, you've got the great Sean Kepi as well in the ranks.
You have another Manly play coming. Yeah, dear me.
Yeah, there are some around, but I mean, honestly, I think I've got him below Coen Hess, really. I'm not going to really argue with this at all. I actually would have just probably put him straight above Kepi. I think, and the other reason I was looking at that potentially as well is because I don't know. I don't think I'd probably still take. They're all 5 of the guys at the bottom. I don't know where do you want to put him? We're going to put him exactly where you want. Exactly where you want. Where do you want to put him? Well, the only reason that I'm not putting him next to Kepi is because I've got another Manly player up my sleeve and we're going to put him right next to. So, out of respect, I'm going to put him between Hess and Molo. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. You know, it is Manly though. Like, you know, it just is what it is Manly. Just say, you know what, we're going to put him below Molo. We're going to put him below Molo. Perfect. And that's still given the respect, but we're taking the piss out of Manly here, and it's but we're backing it up with stats, of course. We're not just drilling them because I think Manly fans know it too, man. That's the thing. Like, but what I'm saying, that was funny what you just said. Like, I've got another one up my sleeve. But all right, let's move on now to the next play here. We actually don't have a great deal left to go. We've only got maybe an hour and a half left of 8-9 players. Oh, yeah. But we do go into Tavita Totola here for the Rabbitohs. Tough one here. I definitely think that he would be probably the premium version, like just simply like when you think of the words do the job, I think he's the do the job guy. I think he's rose in form this year. I think I've got him up there in the quality section, lower half, but still above Fodawaker, around that Welch sort of sphere. Second most games of any front rower in 2022. Average 14 runs per game, 12th highest of any front rower, 121 meters. You've got him making 22 tackles per game as well. So definitely that sort of efficiency. Playing only for 46 minutes bear in mind that. So if you're looking for players in the same range who are playing the same sort of minutes, they're averaging around 10 runs per game. So the fact that Totola is averaging 14 runs basically per game is something special. So he's definitely putting his heart on his sleeve for longer minutes than, who we were talking about with Royce Hunt and all those players like Lino as well. I think that I have him up there in quality, but I'm also happy to put him at the start to do the job, but I'm not settling for any lower.
Okay, well, all right,
That's
no
it,
worries,
bargaining.
boss. No worries. No, he's given me a bargain before I even said where I'm going to put him. I personally speaking, would take, and although he's a massive, massive muppet, I'd personally take Instagram blocker Aloye over to Vita Totola.
Interesting. Why is that?
I just I don't know. It just for me, I've never really been stunned by what Totola kind of brings. It's just not. Maybe he's just not my player, because how there's just players that just aren't for you, and some people see them, and like for example Luke Thompson, a player that I don't necessarily see. I personally do have Tavita Totola above him, but I'm personally going to take Matty Lodge, Alex Twal, definitely Mo. And Christian Welch, all these guys above Totola. I just think he's a hard worker, and I think he's the premium example of the words "do the job." I just don't think he is that like extra mile special. But if you really want to put him above, Instagram blocker, I'm happy to. I'm not. It's not like I'm going to fight too hard for it.
So yeah, the way I see it is that Aloye is just that they have the exact same numbers: runs 14 per game, run meters exactly 121 meters per game. Aloye's got him 3 meters more on post contact meters per game, but it's where the defense counts. And Totola averaging that 23 tackles per game compared to Aloye only 17. That's like the slight edge, but I do understand if you're willing to take the Instagram blocker over to Vita Totola,
I'm not doing it.
I'll let you do it. I'll let you do it. I'll let you do it.
No. He's an Instagram blocker, so that's what takes him down. We're going to put Vita Totola at the very, very top of the job, and that's final. There's my ultimatum. There's my ultimatum. And it's not even an ultimatum. I don't know what I'm talking about right now. All right, next up here, we go to one of the best players that has ever played rugby league in the history of rugby league. And I think that it's not deniable that this man is the top of everything, right? Tina Malawi. Faisal Malawi, what a man, what a machine. The locks of dreams. I think he's absolutely phenomenal, man. I think that he's one of the guys that in a terrible Titans team last year, he stood up beyond no means. He's only 22 years old, this guy. Obviously can play lock. And I actually have spoken personally with Justin about this before he became that front row forward, that I believed he was a front row because he's not necessarily a passer. He's just a hard damn well ball runner, Tino. And, I think that every time I see him with a ball, I do get excited. He is the peak of arousal when it comes to the Titans, and I've got him pretty high up there, man. I've got him really high up there, actually. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have to say.
Yeah, I think he's an elite player, just straight up from there. I think Tino, as you mentioned, a hard ball runner, third most runs per game, 15, fourth most run meters, 146 per game, third in post contact meters, 68, fourth in tackle breaks as well. Just a real hard ball runner, working really hard on the ball, and also doing fair amount of work in defense as well. 27 tackles per game, not the biggest, but does really well. And I guess the only downside is that he ranks second for errors. 0.7 errors per game, which is a little high. But in saying that, is he trying to do a lot of work for his team and just trying to make things happen for his side? Probably that's when the errors creep in. But for me, hardest worker in that Titans outfit, and probably the best damn player to come through. And mate, if he was at Melbourne, mate, they'll be saying Tino's name all over the park. But the fact is, that the Titans, he's probably thought of less, but I don't think so. I think he's an elite player.
Yeah, I think it is. The fact that he is at the Titans is why he obviously is thought of less here. But like, he really just simply is a phenomenal player. And he is right now our best player. There's a reason why he's captain. He's only young, like I said, 20 years of age. He goes down to that cauldron of the Bulldogs fans after, Matt Burton, who's a cat, obviously got slapped. and he had to deal with Tavita Pangai, who's also another cat as well. And demolished there. Even though we lost the game, he was the best player in the game. Like, he was just phenomenal. He just doesn't stop. The guy, the guy doesn't stop, and I love him, man. He's always got time for the fans. He's just such a great player. I've got him still below Fisher Harris, but I think he's definitely in that elite category.
Yeah, absolutely. The exact spot that I had him. So I think that's a fair crack.
Yeah, 100%. All right, there we go. So, Big Tino, I love you, mate. I love you. All right, we move on now to mate.
You know who we're going to.
We go to top 4 simply. Pronounce his name?
Sipley. Just
Okay.
Sipley.
Yeah, he does have a last name Sipley. We'll give you that one.
Sipley. Sipley.
You tried. We'll say that you tried. And that's the main thing. But I think we both know where 12 Sipley is going. You obviously already said that you basically wanted to put him below J Wall. Are you putting him above? I would put him above Kepi still.
Yeah, absolutely. Above Kepi. Only averages 30 minutes per game, 7 carries, 68 meters. Really not much offering. Offloads per game, he's 16th. That's probably his highlight. Other than that, defensively, only making 15 tackles. Really not getting into the match, but he is 8th for penalties. So the fact that he's only playing 30 minutes and he still averages the third highest most penalties for a front rower, that just goes to show why we've got him down there. And it's not, and honestly, I'm not trying to take the piss out of Manly here. I know it looks like I am with 3 of your front rowers down at the bottom, and obviously 2 of your front rowers are in do the job, and one of them doesn't have a contract for next year. But that's not me taking the piss out of you. That's just the unfortunate statistical circumstance that you guys find yourselves in. So yeah, simply
truly, I think Manly, but I think Manly fans know it, and to be completely honest with you as well, we put Paseka higher than what he probably arguably could be, just because we didn't want to put 3 Manly front rowers right at the bottom there. But yeah, look, it's a tough predicament there for Manly. They're in a shambles. They are absolutely in a rebuild right now. They've just lost 4, and they're relying on Josh Schuster, like we've mentioned before. Their forwards are a bit of a shambles. Cherry Evans is getting older, obviously. It's a hard one, and their forwards are probably the ones that we're looking at the most. I'm not necessarily looking forward to, looking at doing any position for Manly besides maybe the fullback, where Trbojevic might even drop off a little bit too. And we're talking now we're getting off topic and talking, even though we've been on for hours, unbelievable. So we'll move on from that. But yeah, look, it's a tough predicament for Manly. It is really, really tough, and I don't know how they're going to go in 2023. God help you, But let's move on now to the Sharkies. We've got 6 left here, and it is Toby Rudolph, who has kind of been in and out of multiple positions, to be completely honest with you. He has been in a lock position, and then he's also in that front row. I think they're really, because obviously, is Finucane? No, Finucane is in the lock position now, yes?
Yeah,
so Finucane's in that lock position. I think Toby Rudolph is a pretty good front rower. I'm not going to say that he had a great year last year by any means. I definitely don't think he's not that great. I think he's probably. I personally think, based on what to be fair, they came second though. Like, I don't know. What have I not seen? Because I'd be putting him into the job from what I'm thinking right now. Not low, but not crazily high. Where would you put him based on the stats?
Basically off the stats, I think that he's a great overall player. Averages 51 minutes on the field, 15th highest. Obviously not making the same sort of runs and run meters as players in that similar minute bracket. Obviously averaging 12 runs per game, 101 meters. So obviously not getting that 10 meters per run. But still a really good asset to have. He's averages 28 tackles, which is the 11th most out of all the front rowers that we've gone through. He is second for errors, so he does have an error in him. I am really happy to put him. Oh, geez, where would I put him? I'd put him in between, maybe below Leota, above Jarrod Waerea-Hargreaves. Is that where you're looking? Or
yeah, I'm looking at
below JWH.
I was actually thinking maybe just below JWH, but I was okay if you put him a little bit higher there. It's actually kind of tough when you're looking at all these faces here. It does confuse you, because you're looking there and you're looking there and then you're trying to. the more faces on the screen, the harder it actually kind of gets, which is weirdly enough. But I would say that, yeah, Toby Rudolph, I would personally put him above Lindsay Collins in between JWH. And I believe that he has the ceiling of being in that top end of quality. I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got to look at it where he's come from as well. Like he's done the long way around. He didn't really. He was in the Rabbitohs 20 system. Didn't get picked up by anyone. Went to Redcliffe for a bit there. Won a Queensland Cup with Redcliffe. Then got picked up by the Sharks, but didn't play in the Sharks lineup for a while. Was hovering around Newtown for a bit for another season where he won another New South Wales comp there. Then he got his start in 2020 during the COVID season, and ever since then, he's basically played. Well, he's averaged at least over 20 games per season since then. So it's been a constant rise for Toby, and I think that there is an Origin call up in the horizon if he keeps up this rise. But he can't just stay still, like a shark. You can't just fall asleep in the water. You got to keep moving. You got to be hungry. And now I'm doing motivational speeches because we are
it's the exact into this fucker. It's the exact same thing. What happens at Northies, mate? You just got to keep moving. Don't let
mate. You got to keep moving.
You got to keep moving. Otherwise, you've got to find. Oh, I tell you what. Now it's getting now it's getting out of control.
The arousal levels at Northies. What are they at?
After a Sharks win, man? My God, anything's going.
Good grief.
Isn't that where Todd Carney, the Todd Carney special came from too? Northies.
Mate, he's a Sharky at the time, so most likely I'm pretty sure they did. I'm pretty sure they did the peptides in the toilets of Northern. Okay. Maybe not. I thought every scandal.
Now we're moving on. Now we're moving on. My goodness me. We've got 5 left to go here, and it is so. What we're just making sure we put Toby Rudolph below JWH, above Lindsay, or above JWH.
Yeah. In between Lindsay and JWH.
Yeah, I love how I gave you 2 options there, and your answer was yep.
Mate. Maybe it was just my mic freezing.
No, you're right. No, it's all good. We put it below JWH above Lindsay Collins. All right, so 5 to go, and we're going to the New Zealand Warriors here, which is Tohu Harris, who I think if it's weird because everyone keeps saying he's underrated, but I feel like everyone says that, so it definitely doesn't mean that he's necessarily underrated anymore because everyone says the exact same thing. However, do you think he is the same underrated player that everyone has been saying that for years now, especially with the fact that Adam Fanua-Blake really is that main guy in the Warriors setup?
I think definitely AFB takes it away from Tohu Harris, but he still wears his heart on his sleeve each game. He averages 33 tackles per game, which is the 3rd most out of all the front rowers. On top of that, he's 13th for tackle breaks. So still putting in an attack, runs the ball 12 times, 106 meters. More defensively minded as AFB is their wrecking ball, much like we've talked about throughout JWH, Lindsay Collins, and all them. So I do think Tohu Harris is still an outstanding and quality front rower. Would I put him above AFW? AFW. Oh my God, I'm losing it, mate. I'm losing it here. AFB. And also, can we talk about how many double barrel surnames there are in front rowers?
That's why when you were getting stuck with Braden Hamlin-Uele, I was like, you've got a long night ahead of you, mate.
Really long night. Oh, well, yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Tohu Harris should probably go, I reckon, gosh, I'd have him between Papali'i and Nas.
I would. Yeah, I'm actually happy to do that. I was going to make an argument for below Nas, but you know what? I still would say below Nas. I just think that Nas is just such a, again, we'll go back to the same thing that I said with Max King, is that I think that Nas is just a really scary guy. Love him as a front row forward. And I think that maybe if it comes down to 2, I think that Tohu Harris is a hard worker, a very hard worker. But I think that the way that Nelson is, he's just such a dominant figure in that front row, and you don't want to come up against him compared to the likes of Tohu Harris, who's just going to get through a mountain of work. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at it from the perspective of if you're starting a club with one player, I'd rather that player be Tohu Harris. I think actually, Nas, I would love to see Nas in a different team, to be honest. Whether he'd sink or swim. I think he'd still be scary, but I just think that Melbourne system really brings out the best in him and his role. So for me, Tohu Harris, mate, he plays 5'8". He can play 5'8". He can play lock. He can play front row. He can play, mate. He built his career in the second row for the Storm as well. He can play everywhere on the park. if you need him. And for that versatility on top of the stats that he provides as well, week in, week out, he averages around 70 minutes per game. So he's on the field for the most of any player in the front row here. So for me, he's just consistent with his scores. So I like that about him.
Yeah, no, you're right. Also, we'll put him above. I'm okay with that. You convinced me, mate. You've convinced me. But then again, I guess
running out of energy.
2 hours down, mate. It doesn't take a lot to convince me.
4 to go. Let's go.
We're on the home straight. We've got 4 to go, and it is Tommy Burgess here from the South Sydney Rabbitohs. I think he had a really good year last year. I think that he was actually phenomenal for the Rabbitohs and was a big part of why they were as quality as they were and got themselves to. Did they get to the yeah? They did get to a prelim. They beat the Sharks in the semis. I think that Tom had a really good season, and I'd be putting him into that quality section.
Absolutely, I think that he was the best front rower at the World Cup. So the best front rower at the international stage. I thought he was absolutely amazing. I keep forgetting about that World Cup. I did every single game, and I still keep forgetting about it. Mate, he was just absolutely extraordinary for England. To still think that pundits have him coming off the bench in 2023 confuses me. I think he's a starting front rower, 14 carries per game, 29 meters per game, 7th for post-contact meters out of all the players, 7th for tackle breaks as well. In tackles, he lets it down his guard a bit, but he's just that 1-2 punch, and you know what you're going to get with Tom Burgess, and he's just a quality player, will do the job. I mean, not many people speak of him highly in that international levels. I sometimes have to remind myself he is an England player, but boy, did he. I think he made a statement in that World Cup, but it's just been the years building with South Sydney. The last 4 years, they've made the prelims or more. I think he's been sensational. For me personally, I've got him in between Welch and Joe O.
Welch and Waerea-Hargreaves. Okay, yeah, I can see because Welch has now dropped down. Like he's in quality, but it's because there's so many guys there. It's gone down. I was trying to figure out. I was losing myself. So I would agree. Actually, I think that's a perfect positioning. I do. Yeah, straight away when you look at that, I think that maybe Waerea-Hargreaves definitely has got a bit more to him, bit more oomph, a bit more arousalness, and I think that Welch is a tough worker, but I just think that Burgess is great on the international level and had such an unreal season with the Rabbitohs, and I think he'll do it again because the Rabbitohs are primed to have a big year this year. They're primed to have a big year with the team they have, and just obviously hoping that Jason Demetriou does maintain going into 2023. But we've got 3 left to go here, and we're back to the Brisbane Schmonkos. That is Tom Flegler. Now he's a tough one because he gives away. He has potential, but he's also just a bit, like I love Payne Haas and I can respect a lot of what Payne Haas does, but with Tommy Flegler, it's like you can see that there's something waiting to be, unhidden, but it just always is I don't know. It just doesn't get there for me. What's your thoughts?
Absolutely. I think that Flegler is at a point of his career where he really needs to start making it happen. He's already got some Origin experience up his sleeve as well. I think he was in the Origin team this year as well. In 2022 as well. So he can. He's got the experience within him. 11 carries per game, 97 run meters per game. It's about average for a front rower, which is probably where you would.
I don't think Flegler was 2022. I think he was 2020 maybe.
Maybe 2020. I just get him mixed up.
Or 2021. Yeah, he was Origin.
He's an Origin player. You can't deny that. Which year? Apologies for that. But 14th in tackle breaks per game, 6th in offload. So he does have something special in his attacking game. So I do really like what he brings to the side. But of course, he's got a penalty in him. For me, he's do the job. Where he sits in that list of people, I'd probably take him above McLean, maybe. Surely.
Yeah, I'd take him above McLean. Yeah, I would. But the weird thing is that like I and I'm honest to God here, I genuinely would say this is a really strange thing to say in this position. But I would take him over McLean, but I wouldn't take him over Jimmy Jolliffe. I'm just straight up I don't know why I'm throwing that out there because they are there. But do you know what I mean? Like you can still say that a player it seems like they'd be a better player than I don't know what I'm thinking about here, but maybe it's just because we've been going for so long. But I'm happy to put him above McLean. I just feel like I would take Jimmy Jolliffe over Flegler because he's just I don't know what it is. Do you know what I'm saying? Or trying to say?
Yeah, no. There's plenty of moments where I look back and go like, oh, but he's better than this player, but I wouldn't take him over. And you kind of look back at all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, we've been going for a long fucking time, mate. A long bloody time. All right.
Well, we've got two guys to go here. Get that whip out, baby. Get that whip out. And I'm going to we're going to go to Tui Kamikamica now for the Melbourne Storm. He also played for Fiji, obviously the Fiji Bunty, who were robbed against New Zealand. Just want to throw that one out there. But Tui Kamikamica, very tough ball runner. I don't think that you're going to really put him too high. I think he's going to be in that do the job section, but I don't think he's going to be too high in that do the job section. But I do think that when he gets the ball, he runs it hard and he does what he needs to do.
Absolutely. I mean, he's not really playing for too long, 45 minutes per game, averages 10 runs per game and 87 run meters. Post contacts fairly average as well for what he runs. So nothing too much to see there. He does do a lot of defense. He's top 10 for most tackles in a game for a front rower with 28. With a 97% tackle efficiency. So while he does look scary, defense is his main role at the Melbourne Storm. We do definitely see a bit more of that, but he also jumps from position. He's probably going to play second row, I think, for the Melbourne Storm this year, especially with he's definitely challenging it with Tariq Sims. But he can easily slot into the front row and put in some good minutes there. So it'd be really interesting to see what his role is in that regard. But for me, he probably, I don't know, sits in between Lino and Saifiti. He's better than Flegler. I'd take him over Flegler.
He's definitely better than Flegler. Sorry, I just put Flegler below McLean. We put him above. He's definitely better than Flegler. I would say I'd put him below Leniu and above Jacob Saifiti. Is that what you said?
Yeah. And I mean, I know we're talking up Lino with 23 minutes average per game, but I was
thinking quality at the time, but I agree with you because obviously the lack of minutes. But it's just that short burst is so good from Leniu. The short burst is so good. That's why he is there. But no, I'm happy to put Tui Kamikamica in between those two there. And guess what, man? Guess what? We've done it. We've got to the last man.
One more.
We've got to the
man.
one more.
Here we go.
Here we go, man. If you guys are still watching, hello. But yeah, thumbs up, subscribe, guys. Get around it. Zane Musgrove. What a way to finish off. What a way.
If I wanted to land on any player, it's a dragon.
It's a St. George Illawarra dragon. My goodness me. Zane Musgrove, man. And a dragon that was a tiger.
Oh, geez.
Oh, what a comparison. What a way to go. Well, obviously, we're going to go into the not that great section, but where are you thinking?
I'm thinking, I do think he's above. Is he the best? Oh, geez, look at all the dragon front rowers at the bottom there. Yep. I think he's above Molo. Honestly, he's above Molo, but is he? I think he's above Molo. I think he's above Molo. Oh no. Well, let's just look at his stats and just compare them. Both players play for 39 average minutes. Musgrove averages 10 carries. Molo averages 10 carries. They both run for 84 meters. They both have the same post-contact meters per game. Let's look at the tackles. The tackles, they both got the same 19 tackles per game.
Oh my God, they're the exact same player. Why would the Dragons buy the same player? Why would the Dragons sign the exact same player?
Oh my God. I didn't even expect that. I was expecting to find some sort of discrepancy, but I kept scrolling along the stats and there was absolutely nothing there. So
this is the point. Yep. This is what I make about the Dragons all the time, though. They're not going into a rebuild. They're literally buying the same bland nonsense. It's just the same thing. Like, they're both in not that great. The exact same. Like, at least if they're both in quality. Look at the Eels. We got Junior Paul and Reed and Campbell-Gillard together in the top of quality area, and then you go down here to not that great, and you've got a Dragons team that has Molo and Musgrove, who are both. This is ridiculous on the Dragons. It really is. I feel sorry for your Dragons fans. I really do. But what are we going to do? So we're going to give him some credit, or we're going to put him. Well, to be fair, Molo has played for Queensland.
He's played, yeah, that's the only thing that I've got. I've got Molo with the Origin experience that we put him above.
I think we have to do it. I think there we
We
go.
have to do it. I mean, like it's a dead heat. You just go to the experience.
There you go, the Origin experience there. But man, guess what? We did it. We actually
Holy
we
shit.
slapped it down. We went through 52 players, and I think it would be about 45, 45 plus 23 there. So yeah, about the 2 hour mark. We're hitting the 2 hour mark now. Oh my god. Look at us go. Well, we've absolutely killed it. I'll tell you what, like for doing that 2 hours late at night, it's 11:15 here now in Fiji. It's pretty good that we've snuck that. And I wouldn't really. I think maybe the people might come out and say they don't necessarily agree with David Klemmer. But with that being said, I think that the stats that you provided to show that he has been good, and I agree, he was really good in 2022 season. Is there anyone that you possibly think that people could disagree with besides Klemmer?
Just looking through the list, not really too many players. I thought we've basically put them at least in the right category.
Yeah.
It's whether they should be whether they should be above or below a certain amount of players. But that's really literally a guessing game on that, and it basically become opinion and bargaining, really good bargaining from both of us to get either player up or down. The only one I've got is Spencer Lena. Maybe I want to see the comments around how they go, thinking a player who only averages 23 minutes per game should be in that. He's basically our middle point. He's our middle man in the end.
Yeah, he ended up
when
being
I
the
look at the
middleman.
list. So there you go.
I think that people will be up and down on him. I think there will be people who thought like me and were thinking like how good he looks when he is on the field. But then there will be people who look at the stat that you provided and say, yeah, probably he should be lower. And then that's why we've gone to the middle there. But like just to repeat for everyone obviously watching at home, this is firstly, it's our opinions. So if you disagree, chuck into the comment section and we'll do our best to reply to whatnot. This will probably be a premiere as well, so people can watch this live, and I'll be chatting with them live and whatnot. Anyway,
make sure you do it in the morning. Put us down in the morning. Don't cruel them at night.
yeah, exactly right. But man, we're all done and dusted. So let everyone know where they can find you if they want to come and find the most obscure random stats that ever did random stats.
Absolutely, you can find me at RandomStatsGuy, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. For Twitter, I'm RandoStatsGuy. Some bastard took my other name, so I had to change it there. But other than that, you'll recognize the logo. Give me a follow. Message me, DM me, abuse me. David Klemmer, slide in, mate. If you need to, I can be a sounding board for you. I can give you hugs after games. I think it's going to be a pretty successful season. Bold prediction is Tigers to make the 8. Mic drop it
here
there.
We go. Oh,
Random stats guy.
Is that actually a
Tigers fans see
like,
that?
Is that actually a legitimate prediction?
That's a legitimate prediction. I reckon Sheensy can get him up. That forward pack is it's the best forward. It's one of the best forward packs in the game.
That's it, guys. We've had enough. We've had enough for the night.
I need to have dinner, man. I need to have dinner. I need to clear my head.
You do need to clear your head, and you've got to get off the vodkas, mate. You got to settle down on the vodkas
man.
there. But
I'm on the Uzo.
Anyway, guys, we're going to jump off for now. I appreciate you guys, obviously, for watching. We do all different positions. We've had a couple come out already, and we've got plenty more to come. Plus, also, we've got previews of the team. It's just so much content, whether it be NRL, rugby union, football, cricket, bloody you name it, we've got it, man. So, like I said, thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.